You are about to opt in to Monerotopia, a show for the Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now.
All right. Good morning. Good morning.
GM.
How's it going, man?
It's going.
How you doing? Did you sell your Zcash yet? Selling it top?
Some.
Yeah, you did. Wow.
I didn't have much.
Okay.
But I had some.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing about Zcash, it was so undervalued, right? Like, you know, say what you want about it, but just from an investment standpoint, for those that are in crypto, I mean, it actually offers utility. It's competing with Monero. You know, definitely makes sense as a hedge, or even just as, yeah, this thing is undervalued. So not surprised to see that mega pump. I do think there's obviously some artificialness to it. Or I wouldn't even say that, you know, I think we've always known, right? There's a lot of like VCs, Silicon Valley types that are behind Zcash, that have been acquiring it over the years, that were, you know, part of the initial offer, right? They were investors originally in Zcash, right? They were VC funded. So there's people that are holding quite a bit of Zcash. You have obviously the dev tax. Before that, what did they call it originally? They've changed, right? They've changed the way the coins are essentially distributed, right? There was obviously there's a dev tax before that, right? Wasn't there just even like,
Was there one based on transaction fees?
No, a percentage of rewards were going to a founder's
mining
fee,
rewards, right? Founder's fee.
A founder's fee, right? So I mean, those founders probably sitting on a lot of Zcash. I'm thinking, you know, it's probably not that well distributed, right? There's a couple of, I would think there's like some mega holders in Zcash. These guys like Barry Silbert, these guys that have been they were part of the founders fee. I think he's in on that, and then I'm sure they've been collecting it ever since, right? So when you have you know, most of your supply held by a few people that are like very wealthy, it's pretty easy to pump, right? I'm surprised they haven't done it yet, to be honest.
Well, we've seen, like, you know, I think in 2022 Zcash went up to $300. And I don't know what the lore is behind it, but if you look at the chart, the longest term chart that I can find for Zcash, you see it had like almost like an ICO of several $1,000s. So its all-time high, according to these charts, was technically like $3,000.
Yeah, and I think that was when Zcash first launched. But I think that it was just because the supply was so low initially that it was getting bidded up.
It quickly just got
I don't think it was an ICO. I think I actually mentioned I misspoke on that last week. I don't know, maybe Bawdy has more details on that, but I believe it was just getting you know, hyped up, bought up with the limited supply because right, on day one,
because they're like, it's just like Bitcoin, you know,
right? That first block that came out, right? Everybody wanted, you know, there was anticipation for Zcash. I remember I had my eye on it as well. But yeah, the big turnoff originally for Zcash was the trusted setup, right? That was a no-go, right? And they since figured out how to deprecate that, which is really cool. You know, they've done other things too, where they've made improvements where you can't say they haven't. right? Some of the major criticisms have either gone away or are a lot less relevant than they were. There's still obviously criticisms.
Yeah, no, Zcash from a technical standpoint, it's way better than it used to be, and it does actually compete with Monero in some ways. I just still, it's so hard to get past the whole corporate aspect of it for me, and that's where Monero really shines, is seeing how successful it's been without the backing of VC funding or this corporate structure that Zcash has had since the beginning. And I think that really shows with the kind of philosophy that is often like behind working with Monero versus Zcash, where Zcash is a lot more obsessed with fitting within a regulatory framework, being acceptable on all these centralized exchanges, which there are pros and cons to each side. But for me personally, I just prefer. I'm impressed how well Monero has worked with how it's set up, and I think it kind of shines in that regard. And I tend towards preferring that one regularly over Zcash. So
you tend for what? And
I tend to prefer Monero and the way it's set up compared to Zcash. And I think that's why a lot of people agree as well. Some people will say that Zcash has backdoors, and so I don't really believe that necessarily. I don't think Zcash has backdoors. Yes, Zuko had that one silly, really stupid single tweet, which even with added context, I don't think it's a very good. It doesn't seem like a great sentiment for someone who's working on a privacy coin, in my opinion. However, I
don't think there's a technical backdoor,
no,
right? And if you can criticize, if you could throw that criticism at Zcash, and you could throw that criticism at Monero, right? It's just like this idea that, you know, hidden in the code is some backdoor, right? But the whole concept is it's open source. It can be audited. It can be checked, right? So that applies to all cryptos. Now, obviously, there's maybe more of a conspiracy theory because it was VC funded and it's like a small group of people that are behind it. And then
there's more going on there.
Where the money is coming from, you know, what their global agenda is, right? Okay. Maybe you start to put the pieces in, like, all right, maybe it's so crazy that there's a back door in this thing because these guys have this agenda. Now, I'm not saying, I'm just like laying out what the thinking process is. So if anything, I don't think there's a technical backdoor, but there's kind of maybe like a social backdoor in that the people that are running Zcash effectively, because there is a cohort of people that are more influential than others in Zcash. It is, you know, there's, like we said, there was this founders fee, there's the VCs, that they are susceptible to wanting to do things in a certain way that may not always be perfectly aligned with the untraceable digital cash. Like, that's the potential backdoor, that they're willing to push Zcash in ways that aren't aligned with true untraceable digital cash. Like saying, oh, yeah, it's super private, the tech is best, oh, but it's not private by default. Oh, but, you know, we added this address that lets you, you know, integrate with centralized exchanges so that we can work with regulators. Like, Monero's like, you know, F the regulator. Like, they got to work with us. Like, we're building this technology that nobody can surveil, track, trace in any way. And then the systems around us will work with us. We're not looking to work with them, right? We're just building unstoppable tech. Zcash is a little bit like, but we'll work with the legacy system, you know?
Yeah, no, I don't think like all of what's like, I think we're seeing some of the pros of Zcash doing that. Like it is on Coinbase. It is on Binance still.
However, for me, that goes back to the like from an investment standpoint, it's highly undervalued, and that I put that in the checkbox too. Like, and it's easily accessible. People can ape into Zcash.
However, as we saw when Monero was on Binance, it was available. You could buy it. However, Binance was actually using it being on their own platform to Monero's disadvantage, which was a very bad thing. And I think if we don't see that with Zcash, it's going to be kind of suspicious, because seeing how Monero's been treated while it's been accepted on some exchanges with being extremely like paper held, and I'm sure they do this with dozens of other currencies as well. I'm sure it's not just Monero, but seeing the treatment Monero has received is extremely vindicating in a certain way that I haven't seen that to the same degree with Zcash, but I don't know, because Zcash's price as well has been, like you said, it's been probably quite undervalued for a long time. Like Zcash at $15, it's like that's like a no-brainer. But it is interesting to see the attack that Monero has had, and that you're listing stuff, and Zcash is still there. Now, granted, Zcash has the T addresses, but ultimately, if the privacy works in the way that they say it does, it doesn't even matter. Like somebody could just transfer their shielded pool funds straight to the T address to the exchange, and the exchange still wouldn't be able to see ultimately where it came from. So it's an interesting dynamic. But once again, the main concern before, which would have been a valid concern, is the trusted setup. That's no longer a thing. So that's not as concerning as it was before. But it does seem like the recent push in the pump did seem quite sudden and a bit inorganic, and we have seen that there are some influencers that are being paid by either the corporation behind Zcash or another corporation. They're being paid to directly shill Zcash, which puts a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. So
yeah, for sure. And I think it's also competition is good too, right? This keeps us on our toes too. Nobody's sitting on their laurels here with full chain membership proofs. We're seeing a lot of effort going into pushing that out as soon as possible, because the fact is we are competing with something like Zcash, right? And competition's good. It's pushing us forward. Obviously, we're going to do it anyway. But with the competition there, I think it's an added incentive to get this done right away. And I think it pushes us in the community in other ways too, to just improve Monero more and more. We are the leader, right? We are like the Bitcoin of privacy coins. We are the leader. Our ethos is more, we're more principled in our approach. The community is definitely fully aligned with the mission. It appears like there's, we're more fairly distributed given for how long we've been around, and, the people that have been involved. It's not VC funded. It's like a true open source global effort of crypto anarchists, cypherpunks that just want digital cash. Like that is the Monero brand, and you're not taking that away from us. But that being said, as great as that is, there are advantages to their approach, which is VC funded, Silicon Valley, slightly more centralized in ways, especially in the beginning, that allow them to do things, perhaps faster than Monero was able to do, or just evolve in different. There's definitely advantages there. Like we're saying, integrating with centralized exchanges, which would lead to more adoption. So each side has its pluses and minuses. Obviously, Monero is ultimately more ideal in its approach, but we can't sit on our hands. We have to compete with Zcash. And yeah, use that as an incentive. Let's look at this as a problem, right? I see it as a problem that you can't easily ape into Monero. Now, I think there's like a lot of cope from Monero people, like, no, it's not a problem because whatever, we just, we want people to get Monero without KYC all the time, and it's just better. And like, yeah, we don't care if adoption doesn't grow. What?
I'm in between purely because of what we saw with Binance. Now, I think with Coinbase, it could be better. I think Coinbase.
Well, then we need other solutions, right? Like we need to figure out other ways that people can get.
We need Sarai.
Sarai, yep, Sarai has been waiting for that for a while, right? We have some other dexes that are out there. Havana, right? RitoSwap. That seems to be like that's a really important piece of the puzzle right now.
Havana is actually a pretty good way to get Monero. I actually start recommending that to people now. Like learning curve is a little bit higher, but it's actually there's quite a bit of liquidity on Avino now. You can quite easily buy small amounts of Monero if you wanted to with something like PayPal.
Yeah.
So,
but like it's still not connected to your bank account and click of a button.
Not directly, no. Unfortunately,
right? And it's like maybe there's a way to kind of mimic that a little bit better in a decent, using something like RitoSwap, right? Like what's the most convenient way on there? I guess would be to use like PayPal or something.
I think any of the quick cash services like PayPal. I think Venmo is an option as well. maybe
Right.
Cash App, Zelle.
Right.
Zelle's popular.
I haven't. I gotta use it just so I could understand it better. Obviously, I get, but I haven't experienced the user experience. I definitely got to do that. Download the client, use it, because there's a lot to learn there too in terms of how we can improve XMR Bazaar, right? I mean, the art it's pretty similar concept. What they're doing, what we're doing. It is a marketplace. They have, it's just, if anything, it's obviously it's more decentralized because it's just you're downloading a client. But right, they have the same thing, right? They have mediators, right, for their multi-sig. Obviously, their multi-sig is a lot smoother than XMR Bazaars. There's things to learn there from them. And XMR Bazaar is becoming a way for people to obtain Monero peer-to-peer. I see that's the most popular. I could bring that up right now. I mean, that's the most popular post you're seeing that's getting boosted is peer-to-peer trades. So there is great demand for that in Monero. People are looking to obtain Monero with cash or to sell their Monero for cash. And we just need to invent better bridges for it, right? I think we need more innovation there. I know people talk about a Rito swap app, right? That would be. Is somebody working on that? Is that being worked on?
I know someone was starting one at one point. I don't know where it left off.
Yeah, that would be nice to have. XMR Bazaar has an advantage there in that it is accessible just via the internet. You don't need to download a client. But yeah, it would be nice if Rito Swap had that ability. I think you could definitely do it on Android. Obviously, iOS. I don't know how they're gonna do that. I'm sure it can be done there as well. But yeah, where you're not downloading a client, but somehow you're interacting with the platform via an app. That would be whoa. That would be nice to have. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, let me actually. So, anything else to say about XMR Bazaar right now? Let me see if. Let me see. He didn't update the forum. We made a change to the forum. We improved the forum. It's nice to see people are using it. People are using it. They're making posts. They're tipping. I'm looking right now. I mean, there are posts. Every day. Every day we're seeing new posts. So that's nice to see. So yeah, guys, it's a great way to start earning some Monero too. You could go post on the forum. Oh, sorry guys, hold on a sec.
Pripes OG just said yes, there is alpha release of Android app already. I've been testing for the dev.
Oh,
so I guess that is being worked on.
That is awesome.
Which is very cool. I do remember seeing progress a while back, but I wasn't aware if that was still being worked on. But if it is, that is very cool. Definitely needed because a lot of people only use their phones. They don't really use computers. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but it looks like there's a lot of popular ways to purchase some. I'm guessing the premium is relatively high for those ways on XMR Bazaar, but there is options available.
Yeah, I don't know. Is the premium? I don't even know. This guy, I think his price pretty high, but he's on here all the time.
Pretty active.
Yeah, he's charging a 15% fee.
So, a 50% fee?
15.
Oh, 15.
Yeah,
I'd still be high, but
yeah.
I mean, hey, if you keep talking about Monero's real value, its real price. So if you believe that, then 15% on what it currently is worth is not that much.
Yeah, that's the street price, right? That's what people are willing to pay to get it for cash. Let me switch up Monerotopia, guys. We are full steam ahead with planning Monerotopia. It's going to come up fast, February 12th to the 15th. Grab your tickets. More importantly, grab your plane tickets and come on down. the rest will work itself out. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. We already have our top sponsors lined up. Main stage sponsors: Cake Wallet and Edge.
Yours truly.
Yes, thank you. Wait, is it? Oh, I'm scrolling on the wrong one here. Hold on. Yeah, boom. Cake Wallet and Edge. There they are. Super excited to have them both. I won't give the whole spiel again. I went into it last week, but very, very excited to have them as sponsors. To have these two wallets that will be participating in Monerotopia, help making it happen in a very big way. Obviously, Cake has sponsored us every year for Monerotopia, but super cool that they were welcoming to allow Edge to also sponsor. And Edge is it's used quite a bit in the Monero community. A lot of people use it at PorcFest, and it is a highly respected wallet. And it does things a little bit differently than Cake in a way that arguably gives it some advantages from a UX perspective with instant sync. So very exciting to see these two wallets getting to kind of compete out in the open at Monerotopia in the marketplace. So I'm excited for that. Obviously, Monerotopia is all about adoption and the marketplace itself and using Monero in the real world, and we'll continue to ramp up that component of the conference. I'm thinking I want the hackathon to be focused on the marketplace, and basically seeing what we can do during those 4 days to improve the Monero accepting marketplace, making it easier for vendors, making it easy for customers. That's what I would like to focus on. And yeah, guys, reach out. Oh, hold on. Let me mute for.
Yep, always glad to sponsor. Always.
Sorry about that.
Did you ask Unstoppable Wallet if they were interested? Because they are another wallet that is very, very popular, and they recently added Monero support. Although I don't think there's a lot of Monero-specific users. They have a lot of users in general.
Yeah, they should reach out to us. Obviously, we're only taking 2 main stage spots. That would be incredible. We have a third wallet.
I mean, if they really wanted to.
I mean, yeah, I guess if they really wanted to, we would. Well, I think we told Cake and Edge already. We only do 2 main stagers, but yeah, we could get them involved in other ways. We could add them as an Adoption Alley sponsor or a Privacy Tech sponsor. We do have our VIP dinner sponsor taken. I'll announce that later this week. And then, yeah, we'll start lining up the Privacy Tech sponsors. Those are also a major component of the conference. So thank you to Trocador. They already stepped up. The team will be there like they were last year. They're fantastic. And then hoping to get, obviously Xano will be involved. Talking to Zcash, having very serious discussions with Zcash. So maybe they'll be down there with a couple of their guys. Would love to have Tari. Nero, obviously, welcome to participate. Pirate Chain, I know, wants to participate. Firo likely will participate. Basic Swaps. So we will have the big name privacy coin, privacy tech projects involved, and it's I think that's like a really fantastic, unique component of Monerotopia. It gets some criticism. People say we're not maxi enough, but I think the results are fantastic and ultimately does benefit Monero. Then we have the adoption alleys. This is where, anybody that's building anything in the Monero space, whether you're a small startup or whatever it is, or you're just a business accepting Monero, this is where we would add you. And honestly, it's donation based. We just want to showcase how vibrant the Monero ecosystem is. So we just started heating up with this. We'll add a lot of different companies there. Once again, hit us up if you want to participate in any way. Monerotopia@protonmail.com. If you want to be a speaker, if you want to be a vendor, whatever it is, we'll make it work. We'll get you involved. Obviously, if you want to be a speaker, there's a certain. We're not just going to let any Joe Schmo come up and say whatever they want. It has to be related to the topics at hand, and it has to be worthy of a main stage space. But yeah, reach out. Don't be timid. Yeah, that's it. Enough shilling for now. Do we have Bawdy?
Yes, we do.
All right, yeah. Let's get Bawdy up here, guys. Like and share. We have 80 live viewers. Let's get people in the room. Let's get the Zcash. One thing I will say though, with the Zcash pump, I'm seeing like more privacy coin talk than ever. Right? It's like really, it's really being pumped out there from I'm seeing come out of the woodwork. Right? Is your feed overwhelmed with?
It is. I think it's kind of split. It is some people who are purely like speculators and are just like, yeah. Then there's some conversation about the coins in of itself, and of course because Zcash pumped, now a lot more people are talking about it in comparison to Monero. So
yeah, so I think overall that's good though, right? It's people, more people talking about privacy coins. Privacy OG, I've been running full chain membership proof stress test sync of blockchain is so slow. I don't know what the reason is.
It is a test net for a reason and a stress net.
So yeah, stress away. It's exciting. That was obviously the big news of the week that launched yesterday. So essentially the first public test net for full chain membership proofs. We had Jeff Fro on the show, and he was telling us all about it. He will be a speaker at Monerotopia, by the way. He's already added as a speaker, so super excited to have him. But that's definitely the big news of the week and something to be excited about. And from talking to him, I mean, it sounds like we're on track for having full chain membership proofs ready to be fully, committed, code done by early 2026. So basically Monerotopia, right? I'm hoping by Monerotopia. And then 6 months after that is when it would essentially go live, right? So that there's time for the exchanges to update, others to update, so everybody's ready. And then it will go live like 6 months later. That's the current trajectory, which is super
That's very, very exciting, yeah. I need to go back in later. I'll watch the interview you had of Jeffro. Jeffro's an absolute legend.
Yeah.
So
sure.
Exciting stuff. And this week myself, I'll set up, once I find some time, I'll set up the Alpha Stress Net as well, because this is a very big moment. So everyone should be a part of it if they can.
Awesome. All right, man. Let's move on to price report.
Let's do it.
The Monerotopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Exolix, a privacy-focused, non-custodial instant crypto exchange. Go to exolix.com to enjoy secure and completely anonymous swaps with no KYC or sign-up. Swap between Monero and 2,000 plus assets at the most competitive rates and with no limits. Exolix.com, your fast and secure way to privacy.
Yo, Bawdy, GM.
Hey, what's up, guys?
How's it going?
Yeah, it's good.
Crazy week.
Yeah, I guess so.
Some bumps, some bigger ones, some smaller ones.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of jealousy going around these days. I've been off of Twitter lately. I've given up.
You're waving the Zcash flag?
Yeah, well, I'm waving the shadow ban flag, right? Mr. Musk has decided to shadow ban me, so it's my engagement dropped like 10x overnight a couple weeks ago. Oh, really? Yeah, and it's disheartening. You're like, well, no one's gonna hear what I say anyways. So, and there's nothing going on. Like, there's nothing there. Like, none of it's interesting anymore. It's just like, I don't know.
Nothing ever happens.
Antifa versus Fed Boys. Some guys said the N word, and then let's see. And obviously Charlie Kirk. Like, there's nothing going on.
What do you think the shadow ban was a result of?
Oh, I told some guy to get slapped, and then they banned me for 12 hours. And when I came back, I just had nothing. They said I was engaged in violence or something. I was like, are you kidding me?
Bawdy getting himself in trouble on.
I'm surprised you said that. You normally don't go that route.
Sometimes some people just need to get slapped. They just
True, real and true.
I didn't say I was going to slap him.
Right. Okay.
But
I do also want to point out the very interesting dichotomy between Monero's semi-recent pump and Zcash's recent pump is that Monero's was purely organic because somebody really quickly wanted to get as much privacy as possible versus Zcash is where it's a little bit of there's more some shilling going on, some influencers being paid. It's a little less on that organic side. I'm sure there's plenty of organicness to it, seeing how it seems like Zcash has been worth nothing for a long time. But this isn't like the first time this has happened as well. Like you look at the Zcash chart, you see these insane round trips several times throughout the history of its lifetime. So
this one's worse than most of the other ones. I mean, it hasn't round tripped yet. I'm actually suspecting that it might not round trip, guys. Like, if I'm being really honest here, they are probably willing to throw some dollars at this to try and keep this thing propped up to some level.
Yeah,
I mean, that
like I keep saying, people can buy into it. They can buy into. Right?
It can be quoted on Binance, Coinbase. Also,
I don't think those are relevant factors. Those have been factors for the past 8 years, 7 years.
Yeah, but it's a factor when you're trying to when they're throwing fuel to the fire and trying to cause a pump, right? People are most interested in crypto is trying to find the next 10x, right? That's what that's all they care about. Right?
Yeah,
There's like the 0.01% that cares about the tech and building digital cash. Most people are there to try to figure out, all right, what can I gamble
true,
on?
But are those people the ones really making the price move?
No, but they could become a factor is what I'm saying. I think those people could get pulled in. I think they are a little bit already. I mean, we saw with Dogecoin, right? Look at Dogecoin.
It's not that there's zero people. Well, Dogecoin is a whole different phenomenon. Zcash and Dogecoin have nothing. They're not similar here in any way in terms of their price mechanics and what's
if you take into account how niche Monero is, and then you think about Zcash, it's minuscule compared to Monero in terms of the overall attention it's gotten over its lifespan in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I'm just saying is, when Monero has these moments of where it is getting promoted, right? People are talking about it. You're not with that also getting the noobs that can jump in on it. Whereas with Zcash, it's having this moment, plus it's more noob accessible.
Are these noobs in the room with us now?
Yeah, they're probably not. They're probably not watching Monerotopia now. Maybe we get them one day when they. I don't know, but. There's some noobs in crypto, but they're not going to Zcash or Monero. They're going to Ripple and Dogecoin. Maybe
cannot tell you how many people have asked me.
I mean, when they see a pump, though, don't they go and check it out? I don't know.
They yes and no. Like the noobs that we're getting, they're not like the noobs that we're getting are like the boomers. We're getting boomers, maybe some Gen Xers in there. The Zoomers are always getting older, so they're always buying some new crypto, whatever. But Zoomers don't have money, right? It's the boomers have money, and the boomers are always asking about Ripple, constantly. I mean, Tux has seen it.
Last night I had one ask me about it.
That's a signal. By the way, that's something I learned last bull market. I had a buddy that he was getting into crypto, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I want to get more into crypto. I know you're all about it." And I mean, I already bought Dogecoin, but what else? And I was like, you already bought Dogecoin. He's like, yeah, that's the first one I bought. That should have been a signal to me because that's totally outsider, completely new to crypto, bought Dogecoin first before even asking me. That was a signal. And
before
now
buying Bitcoin too.
Well, he didn't even buy Bitcoin at first. He bought Dogecoin. That was his literal first purchase.
Amazing.
I should have taken that as a signal. It was a lesson I learned when Dogecoin.
Well, that was my first crypto purchase too, but. Granted, that was in 2013, so it was a little different.
Cryptocurrency I actually used to send a real transaction over the network.
Doge was the first crypto I bought, and I used PayPal to buy some on Reddit.
They called Bitcoin the gateway, but apparently it's Doge.
Yeah. I think so.
God, I wish I held on to that Doge. That $50 worth of Doge would be more than anything I would have done in any other crypto. Jesus Christ.
But yeah, now it's Ripple. It was actually just a few days ago. A family member said, "Hey, I have," and they never asked me about crypto, and their friends never asked them about crypto. So maybe once a year.
But Zcash has that Silicon Valley in the, you know, they're connected to the legacy system in a way where they could, like, you know, in a different way than Ripple.
It's not because the noobs came and bought Zcash. It's because the cabal is propping it up. Don't get me wrong.
Yes, but I'm saying that could it then, you know, the kindling is there, and now there's oxygen that can come into that fire from the noobs.
Maybe, but I wouldn't count on it. Right, like the people that are going to buy Zcash are the guys like Vlad, and some of the other big corporate names. I've seen a few of them out there with a few 100,000 followers. Like those are the guys. But I don't believe that necessarily. Like Vlad's probably honest, but a lot of these guys are not. Like a lot of these guys, they've got, like, I won't name any names because some of them come on the show, but some of these guys, it's hard for me to believe that they weren't given a bag or given some kind of incentive in some way under the table that we don't know about. That's technically not being paid off, so they can, like, honestly say, no, they don't sponsor me. But
yeah, well, Vlad is very open about his, you know, he's always been he's been pro Monero, pro Zcash. You know, there was a time when he wasn't even as pro. I think he's more pro Monero than he ever was. I think he gives very honest takes.
Yeah, I think he's honest. I think he's genuine. But what I'm getting at is that there are a few names out there that are like, there's a few people out there that are like, okay, they buy some Zcash, right? There's some small level of interest there, but there's not 3x overnight interest in Zcash. Like that's nonsense. Why don't we just take a look at this price chart? Like this is nonsense price movement, guys. Like,
do you also think, like I was saying at the outset, I think it's not that distributed Zcash, right? Like, because the price has been low for so long. You have these VCs that were probably accumulating even more and more to kind of corner the market on it. Do you think there's...
Yeah, no, that's extremely centralized. They've been, right. I mean, there's one ASIC miner owns like 70% of the hash rate, and they've had it for a long time. And they have 25% dev tax, and they've had it since forever. Yeah, this coin is massively centralized. It's held by VCs, and that's how they can like pay off big accounts to promote it.
Exactly.
But this is a nonsense. Like, you don't. Let's take a measurement here. Let's just like look at this. This happened in all of about 3 days. That's 3x. You don't 3x in 3 days because noobs came into the market, right? So what does that tell you? It tells you somebody, some VC or some like market maker, right? Some exchange, whoever, the consortium of all of those people, they all pumped Zcash. Like somebody decided out there to pump Zcash, and that's why we have a 3x overnight. Yeah, this is not an organic pump. And
that's not what I was saying though. But I'm not saying that this was organic, but I'm saying now this now they see this flame out there. The noobs see like, ooh, this is the bright candle, ooh, and they start walking towards it.
They see flames like that everywhere. Like there's coins that do this all the time.
Nah, I mean,
look at Ripple. What do you mean?
Yeah, but this is one that they did, and then they forced out. You know, they pushed it out there on social media, and you know, so.
I don't think the Zcash influence. Like, I think I understand where Bawdy's going. It's like, the people who would have seen that and bought into it are people who are already into cryptocurrency, not like new people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there's a lot of new Zcash holders, but they're not crypto noobs. They're just people who saw that and they're like, oh, now I'm going to get into Zcash because this thing is starting to make some moves.
Right.
And of course, Naval, who has like almost, I think, 3 million followers on X, posted about Zcash like mid pump. I think it was around when it was like $70. And he's got like 3 million followers on X, and you know, maybe he was paid to do that. I don't know. But he's suddenly decided to, I'm gonna post Zcash as if I've like always known it's been this good buy or something.
Yeah, like you had a bunch of big names like, you know, like
suddenly come out of the woodworks deciding to talk about it now that it's mid pump. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. You're not wrong. Like there's gonna be some new people coming into Zcash, but it's not gonna be the kind to support a 3x, a 10x price movement, you know, indefinitely.
In like a fucking day or two? It was like a few days, right?
Yeah, like first of all, it's not obviously that within 3 days or 2 days, like that's like no. But second of all, on a long-term basis, that's not going to be enough people to support that price. What's going to happen, it tends to happen almost always with these coins when they pump like this, new people come into the market. That's the exit liquidity. That's the game being played here. People get dumped on into as exit liquidity. Let's take a look at FTT token. These guys pumped. I'm just trying to show you that like, wow. Oh, okay, that was from a long time
Zuko
ago.
wants his Lambo.
Let's see. FTT pumped recently. Yeah, not nearly as much. All I'm getting at is that like, these coins do this all the time. Coins pump 3x all the time. Like this isn't too crazy of a happening. Now it's crazy for Zcash. Like that almost never happens for Zcash. But I mean, look at Pirate Chain. Like Pirate Chain from bottom to top has done like, what is that? Also a 3x, right? Almost, and in just a few days, like in just a very short period of time, Pirate Chain, did a 3x, just under a 3x within a matter of like a week or so. So like Zcash isn't unique in the sense that it pumped like to this level. So I'm just saying that like I wouldn't like take this too far. I wouldn't be like, oh my God, it's happening, right? It's fine, it's happening, and now all the noobs are coming in. They're gonna pile into Zcash. Like if they are, they're gonna get dumped on at some point. Maybe not quite yet, but yeah, this one's actually pretty bad, guys. Like this is more of a pump than we've seen Zcash make ever. This is XMR versus Zcash, right? So we're looking at Monero versus Zcash, and we see this every bull market, right? You see this in the bull market where Monero goes down, you get these sharp drop offs, versus Zcash. At the start of the bull market, we had one of these as well, and then we're having it again. So
I also want to point out the interesting timing of this pump right off the back of Monero being actually attacked by some organization with a lot of money, a ton of money. Conveniently, like basically right after that, Zcash is suddenly being promoted. We see medium to large streamers starting to shill it, and some directly being paid to shill, Gainzy specifically. So I don't know if there's any connection there at all. I'm not saying, but it is interesting timing. This coming out right off the back of Monero being severely attacked, and a lot of FUD and propaganda around it. So,
no, I agree. I think that knowing everything we know about the history of what's happened with Monero and the kinds of attacks we've had for the past 5-6 years, we absolutely have to ask that question and say, hey, could there be a connection there? It wouldn't be an unreasonable thing that something like that's going on. Could just be opportunistic, right? Maybe they're just acting opportunistic.
Very possibly, yep.
Or it could be something more coordinated. We'll never know. But I think it's reasonable to be suspicious of that. Cubic making a comeback. We talked about this. We said, hey, be careful. People think, oh, it's over for Cubic. This attack is done. Bye come from beyond. But he's coming from back from down yonder, right? He's
come from
high or low.
Be behind.
Come from behind.
Privacy OG did say Zcash has very little transaction activity. If look at bit info charts, it did explode right as it started pumping. But it is a good point that the average transactions per day was like 2.3K. And this is one of the other concerns that I think is very valid about Zcash, is the fact that there are heuristical concerns around the effectiveness of the shielded pool simply because of how low the actual transactions are. Because you look at the daily transactions, which has been an average of 2 to 2.5K for quite a while. And then you subtract the Coinbase transactions, which is way more than Monero. And then you subtract transparent transactions. And what you're left with is a much even smaller amount of shielded pool transactions. So I guess the effectiveness of that is still to be known. My understanding is that it shouldn't matter too much. Like once you have a fair amount of transactions with their shielded pool, the privacy should be pretty high. But there's heuristical concerns because of just how low the transaction count is in general.
Yeah, I wish BitInfo charts posted the shielded transactions, because here's another thing that's happened. Look at this. Zcash went from 2,500 transactions per day. Now it's at 10,000. It just spiked up there again. It's like, no.
Are you saying this is only transparent and not shielded?
These are total Zcash transactions. There's no,
total.
It's not just
okay. No differentiation from their side. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But guys, I've seen this before. Like Litecoin did this, and it did a 4.5x in 10 days back in 2020 or 2021 in terms of its transaction counts. And then it went up to 200,000 and just stayed there. it's fake. They're fake transactions. And when you own 70% of the ASIC hash power, you know, and if you're trying to like coordinate a pump and falsify effectively, wash trade, it's not the right term here exactly, but just think of it like wash trading. It's the same idea. To wash trade the Zcash transactions, to wash Zcash transactions, to make it look like there's adoption. Like, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I wonder if there isn't going to be a larger push to try and make Zcash, to try and fake Zcash adoption, to generate Zcash adoption, to try and give Monero some kind of competitor. That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, in which case we're going to have a lot more Zcash shills coming out of the woodwork. It's not that they have like terrible, like, and I think Tux, you've posted about this over the past week. It's not that their technology is terrible. You know, for a long time we were kind of like, hey, is this moon math made by the Israeli government, or all these, you know, like DARPA research and naval research? Like, is this trustable? And I guess maybe probably it is now. Like, a lot of things came out of DARPA that are trustable, reasonably trustable. And it's had more time to get reviewed. So I don't know, I guess it's fine. But, you know, obviously the problem is it's a corporate coin. It's massively centralized. It's completely controlled by corporate interests. We like the whole thing, their whole fucking thing is shady as fuck. And it's like, why should we pay off some corporate assholes like Barry Silbert, you know, and all the other guys? Like,
Shilbert.
Yeah. I just have no interest in this coin as like a digital freedom money. It's
not as a digital freedom money, but you know, if you want to ride a wave, just like throwing $50 on Dogecoin in 2013, right? There's elements there. I mean, just the fact that Barry Shilbert is out there shilling it nonstop.
I didn't even know about that. That's really funny.
I don't think Zcash is gonna hit 100x here. Like, they might get some like reasonably sustained positive price pressure potentially. Or maybe not. Maybe they just crash back down. They have a history of just crashing back down and round tripping. So they might just scorn their users for all we know.
Well, I think a lot of it depends on if the bull market's still in play for the broader ecosystem, right? So
it is, but that doesn't mean Zcash is going for 100x here, right? Like, Zcash is not Dogecoin. Like, random noobs from all across everywhere were buying Dogecoin in 2021 because of the dog. Like, that's not happening with Zcash. Like, I've never heard another person ever ask me about Zcash or Monero for that matter, other that wasn't already in the freedom community. So
I've got Monero asked before, never Zcash. So
yeah,
I mean the other like the other thing to consider too is full chain membership proofs is around the corner for Monero. This is like Zcash's last you know moment to try to gain ground on Monero, right?
Yeah.
Because
that's once again, that's why they're taking advantage of this opportunity that they have, this limited window of Monero being attacked and looking like it might not be as good as it really is. Zcash has a couple of things. Sorry, go ahead.
It makes strategic sense if you have resources to use them now to try to gain ground on Monero, because once full chain membership proofs are implemented, it's going to be a lot harder to gain ground.
That's like the last point that Zcash people have like against Monero, but even then it's still like, so far, no corporation entity, no one has been able or has proven to be able to deterministically trace Monero transactions, even with its current system, which is what a lot of people still get wrong. But this is why I was fudding it earlier this week. It's like, I'm not salty because the price is going up. I actually have some Zcash. I'm fudding it because it's so inorganic. There's so many things around it that point to it not being legitimate, and I don't think Zcash deserves this kind of limelight because of the reasons surrounding around it. Now, once again, like Bawdy was saying, or Doug was saying, Zcash is probably very undervalued. It has been for a while, but the reason it's undervalued is probably because they do shit like this. They do these forced pumps, and then they treat the new people as exit liquidity, and then it goes back down. And this is just another one of these things. Will it stay up higher? Will they try to keep it up? Maybe. We'll see. But it's just shady as hell, and it's just so it's so unlike Monero, where Monero pumps because somebody stole Bitcoin and literally tried to put $30 billion through Monero as quickly as possible. That is like the most definitive proof of Monero being like the real shit, the real deal, you know. So anyway,
I have a hard time saying that Zcash is undervalued. Like, it might be underutilized in terms of its shielded transaction capacity, but in terms of like who holds it and the very centralized nature of I assume that it's massively centralized. You wouldn't have DCG with Barry Silbert, and it wouldn't be on Coinbase and Gemini and all these other exchanges that refuse to list Monero. The suits wouldn't be so heavily into Zcash and to promoting it if it wasn't centrally held, right? If they didn't have big bags. And again, 70% ASIC mined, right? 70% of the hash power, not just 70% ASIC mined, 100% ASIC mined, 70% of the hash power held by one entity. So like it's the supply is massively centralized. So it's hard for me to say it's overvalued. It might be undervalued. It might be underutilized, but you know, privacy in general is underutilized, I would say, across crypto.
So I read, but had to talk about this because it became a conversation. But yeah, we will gladly move on to
please do
Monero price report.
Price report on Monero. All right. Well, you know, obviously Monero versus Zcash. Time to.
It's a big, you know, it's a conversation that people are having. So
Red, you know, we talk about it every day. We have to look at the macro, but to call Zcash macro would be a sin. It would be a crime against the price report and all Monero people. All Monero denizens, to use the word that some people hate. I don't even know what that word is supposed to be different from citizens. I guess just participants, whatever. Onwards we go. All right, so we're looking here, Monero USD. We too had a pump. Look, we had 20%. Woo! All right. If we just do 10x more of that, we could have what Zcash has. Lord, awesome. I see what you've done for others. Actually, that would be praying to Satan, I'm pretty sure, in the corporate crypto cabal. I didn't mean to call the suits Lord or their. Anyways. All right, yeah. So we actually did have our own little pump. It's kind of a good thing if you look at this. This is actually nice that we have double topped. I mean, I do sometimes believe in double tops, but in this case, no. You'll see that we basically hit. We're just riding up against this upper standard deviation line. It's actually been a sort of capping point for a while. Don't be surprised if things do a little bit of that and then go to the upside again. So Monero price looking very good right now. Organically looking good. A lot of volatility, right? We had the bump up and then we're kind of, you know, going back and forth here. Crypto in general, right, is positive. Like we've said, this is a bull market. We're in a bull market. It's not over yet. So get long and stay long. I wasn't quite sure last week what the next direction would be, but apparently it was up. So, but yeah, in general, like the overall price is up here, and that's probably what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and take a look at the slightly longer timeline to see maybe what kinds of targets we're looking for. Obviously, you know, we're looking for the, really at this point now, it's about $550, $600, and you can see why that line is slightly curving up. This chart has such a gold feel to it. Like in terms of long-term behavior performance, gold had a very similar chart. We used to talk about this for a long time. Haven't talked about the similar dynamics of Monero to gold because gold finally broke out. But this is effectively a rising triangle, right? So I think Monero should expect effectively to hit this upper line on a long-term basis, this guy right there. And it's going to take some doing to get over that line. Either some kind of very big fundamental event is going to need to happen all at once and just smash things above that line, or, you know, or it's going to take some time to actually like to break that line. So we could do this, maybe come back down, right? And then do that again, right? This could take, honestly, guys, it could take a few years to break.
No way, buddy. Come on.
I'm done lying to you guys. But I've lied to you guys. Like, honestly, I've biased my reports enough in the past, and I feel bad about it because in some cases my biases have led to not the best like determination of what's going to happen with Monero prices. So yeah, bros, this is going to take some time to break without some major fundamental event. Anything can happen, right? There's no reason that anything has to obey my lines, but in terms of the way that price performance has behaved and the kinds of trickery we've seen, we just have to expect that it could take some time to get through that line. Maybe it can happen, right? Maybe we could just go up here and hit 1,000, set a new all-time high. That would be really, really positive. But I don't know. That's just what my intuition combined with the lines and all, you know, and everything says like this. You know. Fair enough.
My gut is saying otherwise.
Testicle analysis. All right. Let's see here. Let's get rid of. We got Polo on here. Polo's just a big mess. Poloniex. God, Justin Sun, get your shit together. All right, there we go. All right, so these are the price divergences relative to Kraken, and remember we had big price divergences while when Kraken finally came back up. They seem to have normalized now, but notice they still tend to trend on the downside, especially CoinEx. Mexi is generally around the 0 point, but you get a notable feel that this chart is still a little bit, you know, they still try to ride a little bit lower than Kraken. It's not that they have any Monero anyways, but whatever. All right, so Bitcoin versus Monero, we're in this phase where it's volatility is reducing, right? Big down, big up, right? This volatility is constraining, right? You can see the orange lines here, right? Hopefully you can see that. These are the orange lines, the upper standard deviations. Expect to spend some more time constrained inside this orange band before some kind of breakout happens. So, but there's still gains to be had here. Like hypothetically, that's a 30% up, right? There's also 30% towards the downside, 20% towards the downside in terms of the ratio that you could be getting on Bitcoin versus Monero. So you could probably trade this if you wanted to. I don't have any opinion on this chart where it's going to go in the near term, in the short term. It could go anywhere. Wave magic is pretty good. These wavy colorful lines are they're pretty good at the extremes. They let you identify when something is either at a boundary and it's going to have resistance or support, or is breaking through kind of a pivot point, right? That's kind of what these charts tell you. At this moment, this chart, the wave magic wouldn't really tell you anything about where the next movement for price would be here. So that should be mostly Monero. Let's take a look at the transactions because those have actually been coming up a little bit. So Monero transactions per day have come up just ever so slightly from the 25 kind of up here at the 30, but still very much in trend for the long time frame in terms of what we've seen. Let's take a look at the hash rate. Hash rate also basically hanging out around 5 gigas, hanging out around, near the sort of top side of where we've been. There was this period where Cubic seemed to drop out, and I guess they're back, but I don't think we've seen any massive big reorgs. I don't know if they're worried about legal risk. Maybe that's because I'm pretty sure they can do more reorgs than what they've been doing. They actually reorged the chain far less often than they could have done it. Depending on the kind of strategy that they want to use, my simulation shows that they can do all kinds of strategies, right? They could be perfectly silent and then do big reorgs. It costs them money to do that, I'm pretty sure. And then they could just do, they can always try and create contention for the chain head and then just reorg consistently, right? Often like block, 2 blocks here, 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks, 1 block. They could reorg in that kind of fashion. And that's a more profitable scheme for them. But when we say profitable, guys, you need to understand we're talking a few percentage above what they would otherwise get. But they don't even have 33% of the hash power. They might have right around 33% of the hash power, and that's their 0 point. That's 33% is where selfish mining becomes that's the 0 point, because below that, you don't make any profit off of selfish mining. You don't make any profit. You can only disrupt the chain. That's all they could do is if you're below 33%. There's some nuance to that. You could hypothetically get other miners to mine on your blocks, but that's really hard to do because the miners are data centers and connected to each other. So it's really hard to insert yourself in between other pools, right? It's hard to insert yourself between the other pools, but Cubic could, there's some amount of gamma that they can use to sort of juice that system and have a little bit less than 33% and still make some profit. But even if they had 35%, we're talking like a couple extra percents of profit than just mining normally. So this has nothing to do with profit, guys. What's happening with Cubic has absolutely nothing to do with being more profitable on Monero as miners. It has everything to do with disrupting the chain and obviously promoting their shitcoin. So a little bit of a side trail there on what's happening, but this whole simulation thing I've made is I've had to dive into the literature to simulate the different types of selfish mining. And it has been illuminating seeing the kinds of outputs that I get. Still trying to work out a couple very, very nuanced details, but I'm very close to putting out a report on exactly the kinds of different distinctions that we see in selfish mining in Monero. Anyways, yet I digress. Back to Monero price report. Okay, so we talked about, I guess we've talked about most of the Monero stuff. I'm sorry, Red 132FR. We are now going to move on to other coins. Gasp. Let's see. We have seen FTT in light purple has been doing these crazy movements up, down, probably, I don't know, going to do some more up. FTT was a token waiting for its moment to come back a little bit. I don't necessarily think it's not like it's not going to come back to stay here for a long time and be the coin. But it's going to try and make a comeback. XRP actually, believe it or not, performing less good than the other stuff. Monero, in terms of its Z-scores, right, getting back into the middle of the pack a little bit. I don't have Zcash on here, but whatever. We won't take a look at that. Do we want to look at the other privacy coins, though? Is there anything else we missed? I think we did miss. Everything else is like Xano has kind of gone sideways. little bit of a comeback for Xano, but hasn't done anything interesting lately. And Firo also hasn't really done too much interesting lately. But what we can do is look at Pirate Chain, because Pirate Chain continues to do kind of these big movements. Sorry. All right. So yeah, we had another big pump. Interesting. Pirate Chain pumped bigly within a few days, right? What would that be? Probably about 70%, I bet. Maybe 50. Dang it. Come on. There we go. 70%. Wow. Nailed it. Yeah. So Pirate Chain pumped 70% in the past week. Okay, I guess good for Pirate Chain holders. Still got a long ways to go to get back to the glory days of where it was, right? You're looking, Pirate Chain goes back to its all-time high. That's, you're looking at a genuine 100x. Honestly, like if I had to gamble on 100x, it would not be Zcash, right? It would be Pirate Chain. I mean, there's other coins I'd probably gamble 100x on, but I don't see Zcash as being able to do 100x. But maybe Pirate Chain can somehow do something and pull off another massive pump. I'm not saying that it will. I'm just saying that it's one of these crazy coins that has done stuff before, where Zcash has only gone down. Right? Let's see, that would be 61x if they got back to the all-time high. So I mean, and that's like insane. Like this kind of movement is just insane. Don't expect that's going to happen, guys. In fact, look at this chart. You can see this right here. At best, you would maybe hope Pirate Chain could get back to this blue line. It could maybe get back to the standard deviation there. So hypothetically, if it could do that from its current price, that would be somewhere between a 4 and a 5x. So maybe you could hope to get a 4 or 5x on Pirate Chain, right? That's possible. Very low liquidity, so it's easy to.
I have recently had some people shilling Darrow, yes, Darrow, once again on X.
Darrow. Bro, you stole my meme. I'm not mad about it. I'm just glad that people like it, but you stole my meme.
What is your meme?
Mom, can we get some privacy coins? No, we have privacy coins at home. Or can we get some Monero? No, we have Monero at home. And it's like hot wasabi. And then was it hot wasabi and Darrow? And
it's Darrow, yeah. Darrow and whatever else.
Yeah, it was like the wrong logo for all of them.
Oh, you made that, huh?
I made that. I can't remember.
It was like yeah. That's awesome.
No, but it's fine. I'm just glad that someone posted it, because I'm shadow banned anyways. So please steal my shit and post it so people can get enjoyment from it. I've actually said I need to go back through the old. Someone needs to go back through all of the Monero memes on Reddit and just like post them. Just like start posting them regularly.
I found quite a large amount. I have quite a large collection now when I was doing the video. So I probably should just post one every day.
Yeah. Grab the good ones. It would be worth it, because Reddit's fucking dead. The internet's dead, man. Dead internet theory. God, it's just gotten worse.
It's real.
I can't play chess. It's always against bots. Like you could just tell the way bots move is just so different than the way humans move. They try to mimic the way humans play, but it's obvious. And then you like the engagement I just scroll through Twitter and it's like, God, it's just, you can just see the bot comments and the nonsense and the bullshit. And then the promoted accounts, the big guys. And it's just like, it's so disheartening, but maybe that's a good thing. All right. You don't need to be on social media anyways. All right. Let's take a look at the macro, guys. Let's see what's happened with the macro. Gold continues to perform. Gold is breaking all my models at this moment. With the most recent price movement here, gold is breaking my models. My model would at least say, hey, come back down here for a little bit and then come back, go back to the upside. But I don't think that's going to happen anymore at this point. So I know that this purple line now looks like that it's higher. That is an artifact. That is actually, it's an artifact of the way that the chart gets put together. I'm not necessarily convinced that is correct. This line actually, I hate to diverge here for a minute, but that's the weekly chart. Let's go take a look at the 3-day chart and notice how that line slightly moves. Or maybe we can look at the 2-day chart and notice that line is moving depending on the candles. It's because you can only calculate each value on the basis of the candle close. So as you get more resolution, the values on that can change to the point that sometimes when you're looking at stuff on the monthly, here's the best way I can put it. The 10-period moving average is not the same on monthly candles as it is for daily candles, right? If you have a moving average and you switch to the daily candles, it's going to be different. Now, that's not quite the case here. It's not quite the case here because reasons. I won't get into the math, but the purple line is actually supposed to be like a continuous, like over the entire history of the chart. But again, when you lose the resolution by going to monthly candles, you get different values. So the only one that I actually trust is the daily version of this line, of the purple, of the solid purple line. I only trust the daily version of it because that has enough resolution that it stops changing if you were to get the resolution any finer. Anyways, gold is looking like it's going to continue to perform. I didn't expect it was going to go to 4,000 post haste, but looks like I'm eating my words on that one. I'm happy to eat my words. I am a holder of gold. So like I said, I thought I should sell here, but I couldn't think of anything else I wanted to buy. So gold it is, right? Just hanging on to gold. And Tux has finally coerced me into showing the silver price as well now. You've reminded me enough times, bro, and you're right? Like this silver is hitting all-time highs, not quite there yet, 47.979. And to actually hit the all-time high, we need to actually get like 50 on the dot, basically 49.8 to actually get to the all-time high. But it's going there, right? It's silver is going to do that. And in fact, this silver chart is almost a reason to tell ourselves that gold isn't done either, right? Gold is like, if silver looks this bullish, it's gonna have to take some time to cool off, right? Like it's gonna hit this spot here, and it's gonna need to do something for a minute. But this is a very bullish setup for silver, and maybe it even could take a few months. Who knows? Maybe it has to do some shit like that. There could be like a macro crash or something. You know, it'll probably take through next year before we really like sustainably go above 50. But or maybe, maybe it gets above 50 for a little bit, right? Maybe it starts flirting with the 55, 60, and then crashes with some macro crash next year, right? So it's going to take some time before it's solidly forever, never below 50 again. But this is a bullish setup on this chart. So given that, it does kind of make us want to say that gold should continue to be bullish. Frank Rogowski on YouTube says gold will be over $4,000 soon. It's more of a failure of confidence or loss of in fiat systems and government debt. Gold holder as well. Yeah, I mean, there is definitely a significant loss of confidence happening in the system. Don't get me wrong, like everybody still has to use dollars, and people still use fucking dollars all the time, and what are you going to do? But yeah, I mean, it's not the system falling apart yet, but maybe in a lot of ways we could probably just suspect that this is gold, breaking out of the suppression under which it has been for so long, right? Like it continues to be suppressed. It's going to continue to be suppressed. That that the cabal got long gold before this breakout happened. They know when the pressure valve has to release. They're not going to let the train explode, right? So they're releasing that pressure right now, and according to what we've seen before, right? Like we should continue to see another big movement here. Gold is breaking out of a rising wedge on a months-long time frame, like. In a technical analysis standpoint, like breaking to the upside in a bullish scenario of a rising wedge triangle is extremely bullish. So, yeah. I mean, don't sell your gold, guys. Just hang on to it. It's real money, anyways, right? Like your gold is saving money with the potential for some big gains, right? You have the potential to make big gains with gold, right? It's typically a savings vehicle, but sometimes it can make big gains. I am looking at oil here and raising an eyebrow. This is slightly concerning. I don't know why. I know sometimes things that I say are just like testicle analysis, but my intuition on this chart is that it's fine. We're still above 60, and I kind of said, hey, that 60 level is the place where you start to get worried. We are not in the worry zone, but we are on the low side of where you might get worried, right? So gold had this kind of floor here at $61.50 for a period of time, and it's sort of broken down from the past few months. It's barely, right? It's barely broken down. We really have to expand the chart to see this, and it's only been in the past couple days. So like I said, the gold breakdown is our alpha into the next macro crash, but I just don't see a macro crash, guys. Like I don't see it anywhere else. So it's hard for me to look at this one thing and say the macro crash is imminent. Especially, we've got the bonds. Do we have the bonds? Why does my TradingView always just gets rid of my charts? I don't know why. It all like for example, I'm not always looking at a quadruple Tron, guys. It's just that TradingView refuses to save my changes. I looked at Tron once and it kept it here forever, and now it won't save it. So anyways, don't think that I'm into Tron. Let's see. What were we going here? I lost my train of thought. Whatever. All right, something. Oh, we were looking at bonds. Okay. So yeah, so bonds here, Jay Powell lowered rates last week, but like bonds are not telling us, they're not flashing any warning signs here. The civilian unemployment is actually showing us kind of a warning sign. We need to get the next numbers. It's still historically low. 4.3 is not high, right? So it's not a problem. Inflation, it seems to be stable enough at 3%, right? Maybe they can't ever get it back down to 2% consistently. Who knows? Inflation is stable at 3%. The M2 continues to go up. Let's see. Like I just don't see anything here that's concerning that would tell us that that the show is over. So even though oil is down, and I have been saying watch oil, be careful about oil, it's it's still above 60, which is kind of that point that I said, hey, that's actually our concern point is below 60. Stock market, S&P continues to just be in that zone, right? We talked about this channel. We said, hey, expect it to get back in this channel, and it's going to stay there, right? There's so much juice to squeeze out of this market. People are like, AI is a bubble, it's going to pop. Sure, eventually, but not tomorrow. Probably not tomorrow. It's going to pop, but there's still juice to squeeze out of this market. There's still M2 money flowing into the corporate, I don't know, apparatus. Elon Musk has been brought to heel to Donald Trump. I don't know if you guys saw the body language, but he met Trump at like a football game, and then he looked like a little lapdog. Like the body language was bad. So first he goes from saying Trump is on the Epstein list, and now they've made up, and Elon is showing the body language of a submissive Wiener Schnitzel or a Dachshund. All right. Anyways, whatever. Fuck you, Musk, for shadow banning me. All right. So yep, stocks are good. Gonna continue being good. Oil slightly concerning, but not really, not yet. Right? If we see below 60 and staying below 60, right, that's when we'll get a little bit more concerned. Let's take a look at the liquidity. I haven't looked at this chart in a while. Okay, yeah, green. So U.S. liquidity continues to climb. All right. Let's see. Frank Rogowski says, I saw yesterday institutions are dumping a percentage of equities for treasury bills and for gold, and retail bought the equities, keeping the market up. That was the thesis. I really not know. I not know either, Frank. Money does flow from one place to another. It doesn't just go to money heaven unless you repay your loan. Then it does go to money heaven, which is actually money hell. But yeah, I mean, typically money just flows from one place to another. So there was a weird tick that I saw a couple weeks ago. I didn't report on it here, but it was money seemed to just like disappear. Like it didn't go into gold or metals. It didn't go into stocks. It actually went out of stocks, and it didn't go into bonds, right? Bonds actually went the opposite direction. So it looked like money disappeared for a period of time, but maybe that was just people doing some reallocations, or I don't know, investing in a company or some set of companies or something like that. But anyways, yeah, the U.S. liquidity in green continues to rise, right? So again, M2, Federal Reserve balance sheet, and Treasury, U.S. Treasury continues to rise. So again, macro looking fine. We talked about gold. Dixie dollar index is also just stable here at the bottom. Again, stability is the name of macro. That's what you want to see. When you see stable macro, you just know that things should continue going up. So yeah, and we've talked, did we get to Bitcoin? I don't think we did. I think I actually diverted for a minute here. All right, Bitcoin actually is now back at all-time highs, not quite making a new all-time high, but 123,000. So Bitcoin chart looking bullish. Let's go to the weekly. You can see, this thing does look bullish. This is actually looking it's looking slightly rounded, right? This thing is looking kind of like maybe like this or something, but still bullish, right? And then we also have total, like we've said, total looks bullish as well. Overall, this is a bullish chart, so expect this thing to continue. Wait, that's total 3. Let's go to actual total. Yeah, so again, total 3 is bullish, right? So altcoins are bullish. And total cryptocurrency is also bullish as well, right? This thing has beautiful channels to ride up and up and up. And probably what we should expect is to just kind of stay in this zone here, right? This is the zone that we should expect to stay in. And that's nice. Like you should be happy to just get consistent gains like that. That's the kind of thing that you want to see. I know everyone wants to see their 10x, but Guys, the problem with a 10x is you don't know how to get in and out of a 10x. You have to be retarded to hold something to 20x. You have to be retarded to hold it for that long because you should take your profits. So if you're either have good insight, great insight, or you're retarded, you can get the 20x. But most people that get the 20x are retarded and they don't have great insight. So you know what that means? They don't sell, right? They don't sell. And so, yeah, if you get the 20x, you're going to write it back down. So you kind of have to get lucky in a lot of ways or have great insight. It's hard to get those 20x's and hang on to them. So what is better for most of the plebs out there, I'm not saying you, I'm the other plebs, is to just hope for steady, consistent gains, right? You feel good. You don't want to get out. You feel like there's more gains on the way. And there probably are, right? That's crypto is going to become more and more like stocks in the sense that, that it's a larger market cap and, it moves slowly. Roy asked, do you think BTC is due for a decent retrace Bawdy? No, I do not, sir. I don't see any reason for us to suspect a large retrace on Bitcoin. Actually, I just saw something. I want to draw another line here. I want to change the way I draw a line. Yeah, that's probably a bit more appropriate to do that one. No, I don't think Bitcoin is due for a retrace. If anything, it's probably ready to start making new all-time highs. I'm not saying it's going to soon. Soon within the next month probably seems pretty reasonable to me. But no, Bitcoin is not due for a retrace, bro. Don't be selling. Don't be trying to don't get short this market, right? That's a mistake. It's a huge fucking mistake. Do not get short this market unless you know what the fuck you're doing. And most of you don't know what you're doing. Like in terms of trading short term like that, trading with leverage, the equations are horrible. When you really go do the math, the leverage trading equations are horrible. Decentralized platform, the trading equations are horrible. They rape you on fees. Like you're just not, it's hard to do. Your best, everybody out there, please, the majority of your stack, the vast majority of your stack should be played not as a trading, but as reallocations. At some point, we're going to look at this market. The financial conditions are going to change. The macro is going to reverse. The winds of change will be in the air. And then we're going to say, okay, let's figure out how to do some rebalancing of the portfolio, right? You should be rebalancing your portfolio from time to time, 0 to 3 times a year, not trading, not trying to find, I think Bitcoin is due for a retrace, right? Let me sell everything and then get back in lower, because you know what happens when you do that. You think Bitcoin's due for a retrace, so you sell and you say, hey, I'm going to buy down here at 90,000, and then Bitcoin goes to 140 and you just missed out, right? And the more that you do that, the more gains that you lose over time. You just got to get in the market. You got to get long. You got to stay long. And then you have to very carefully choose your moments to sell. But that should be accompanied with a broad sea change in the macro picture, which we don't have right now. So, the name of the game is get long, stay long, boys. That would be my registered financial advice. Formally, officially, I am a lawyer, accountant, and also I am your lawyer and accountant. So I can give you financial advice. So get long and stay long. Hopefully everyone knows how retarded I am for saying that, because all of those are lies. Okay. There is nothing else here to talk about. I think we've covered everything ad nauseum. So I'm going to hand this back over to Tux and Doug.
All right. Thank you, Bawdy, as always.
My pleasure, sir.
And I guess we will probably go ahead and move on to the news, because we do not have a guest today. So I'll keep you around if you would like to chime in on anything. That being said, let's go ahead and move into the new segment.
The Monerotopia Weekly News segment is sponsored by WizardSwap.io, a non-custodial cryptocurrency exchange.
Alrighty. So, pulling up my screen. All right, so first news link is a post from our favorite guy, Untraceable. And he says, when spending Monero, instead of making a ring signature proving you own one of 16 Monero outputs, you make a proof that you own one of the 150 million plus Monero outputs from across the entire Monero blockchain. The Alpha StressNet will be the first live network testing FCMP++ and Carrot integration open to the public. It's happening.give. All right, so This is a quote tweet to a post from Monero Futures Lab mentioning how FCP++ and Carrot Alpha stressnet has scheduled the hard fork from the current testnet on October 3rd, and that has already happened. That happened yesterday. And if you'd like to, right now, you can set up and help test this alpha stressnet. Very good stuff. Moving on, we have a post from AI Leah, which reads digital ID plus DNA sequenced at birth plus CBDC plus AI enhanced surveillance. What could go wrong, really? States already building DNA databases for every newborn. Every newborn baby in England will have their DNA mapped under NHS plans for the next 10 years. I believe they have been doing this for a while in most countries at this point. Like if you don't realize or it's happening, I think it has been for a while. But obviously they're going to do everything they can to further use this to enslave you with their surveillance techno state. So, yep. Next, there's an article about the NHS having plans to officially do this. So, but I believe they've been doing this in the US for a while. So I could be wrong, but next we get a post from orangefriend.com, which reads, founder of Twitter once again recommends a service that accepts Monero. So Jack Dorsey, who still uses X/Twitter sometimes, sent a post that says, very good, with the link lnvpn.net. Now, it is obviously called LNVPN. So it's, been designed for Lightning, but they also accept Monero, which I guess they don't really... oh, yeah, okay, they mentioned it right there. They also accept Monero, and obviously Jack Dorsey's very famous, so in mentioning the service, gets a lot of attention, a lot of views, and respect to LNVPN for also accepting Monero. I don't think I've really heard of them before, so very cool to see. And they have VPN, and looks like you have data-only eSIM plans and phone numbers, which is very cool, very good. Next up, we've got a post from Exitnode, which is a kind of a long thread, which is, I guess, a sort of breakdown of Monero versus Gcash, basically going into some of the differences between them. And I guess I should probably mention Untraceable's thread as well, which, let's see if I can find it. Yep. Untraceable did a very, very good thread as well, basically talking about sorry, that's not it. Oh, I don't know where it went. More, I'm blind. Anyways, Untraceable did a thread as well. Very, very good detailed thread. There it is. Basically going through the differences of Monero and Zcash. And I mean, he's a little more biased towards Monero, but I think it was a very good thread, just covering a lot of the main differences and why people might prefer Monero over Zcash. So yeah, a couple good threads here. Good to see. And then next up, we've got a post from The Rage, which is this, I guess, this news account. It reads, new Roman Storm files motion for acquittal on all accounts. The government failed to provide sufficient evidence of illegal conduct and would criminalize the publication of decentralized software in violation of the First Amendment. Full story. So Roman Storm is filing for an acquittal on all the accounts that they're trying to charge him with, which is very good to see. Hopefully he can get through with that, because it looks like a lot of the evidence from the prosecution may not be good enough to charge him with what they're trying to charge him with. So good luck to him, and hopefully that will go in his favor, because there's no reason why he should be prosecuted for anything. Next up, we've got a post from Bitcoin Archive, and it reads, Justin, New York launches pilot program giving low-income residents $12,000 in stablecoins on Coinbase. So it looks like New York City is trying to do a mass onboarding to centralized stable coins, and this one's USDC in particular. And USDC, to my understanding, is extremely almost to the same degree as Tether, extremely centralized, and they can basically freeze, reverse, do whatever they want, right? So it's basically the complete opposite of what something like Bitcoin is supposed to be, or what Monero is today. And New York is trying to fast track this adoption by giving people $12,000 in stablecoin, low income residents, $12,000, which is a lot of fucking money. So that sounds like a fast track to me for trying to onboard people to that and stablecoins in general. So, and getting them used to what might come next, which might be a more federally connected stablecoin. And next we've got a post from Che Bows, which reads, "One man is behind 1/3 of all English language articles on Wikipedia. Stephen Pruitt has made over 6 million edits on Wikipedia and written 35,000 articles. Pruitt works as a contractor for the U.S. federal government." That is very interesting to know. I no other sources here other than this guy just saying it. So assuming this is true, that is a lot. And I have a good feeling, if he's a contractor for the U.S. federal government, that he didn't actually write all of the 1/3 of the English language articles for Wikipedia, and he probably had substantial help with doing that, including the 6 million edits on Wikipedia. So that's a lot. And if this, assuming all of this is completely true, oops, I closed this tab. That is pretty crazy, and also not surprising that the federal government has a play and a say in Wikipedia and what is being put up in there. I mean, this is, we've seen this in the past that more open systems, even though they're more open, they tend to get attacked by and utilized by federal governments and other large parties and institutions for their own advantage. And because of the power they have, they are able to do that more effectively. And Wikipedia is a great example of this. And I think that might be all the links we have today. There's not very many. Let me go scroll up to make sure there are no missing super chats, because I think I saw one earlier that is missing from my screen. Let me check on XMRchat.com. It has the full history. Shortwavesurfer 2009 said, "Can't be banned on Nostr, bros." I think that was to Bawdy, saying how you cannot be banned on Nostr. And friendly reminder, if you do want to send a super chat or an XMR chat, you can do so by going to xmrchat.com/Monerotalk. MeGold 666 says, "We are fingerprinted in so many ways that this digital IDs are just a formality." Yeah, it's kind of not ideal, but there's so many other things going on around it that it honestly is kind of some of these individual things have become a drop in the bucket compared to everything cumulatively that we have going on. I guess with that being said, we will go ahead and move on into the viewers on stage segment, unless Doug or Bawdy had something they wanted to add.
No. I actually have to get going here in a minute.
Yeah, great job, guys. Thank you, Bawdy, for the price report as well, and Tux, great job on the news. I think we can move it along, and if there's anybody that does want to jump on stage that wants to be our special guest, please consider doing so. We'll put the invite link in the chat. But yeah, I say we move on to viewers on stage and then see if we have a special guest that evolves from there.
All right, well, let's go ahead and do that. Oh, it's not letting me select it. There we go.
The Monerotopia Viewers on Stage segment is sponsored by XMR Bar. Play dice with Monero using your privacy-respecting and provably fair algorithm. Go to XMR.bar. As always, verify and never trust.
Please gamble responsibly in accordance with the laws of your jurisdiction.
All right, we have nobody in the backstage, so I'm going to go ahead and send the link in the comments. Oh, looks like Doug already did. If you'd like to come up, if you want to say something, if you want to talk about something crypto related, Monero versus Zcash, whatever, feel free to come up and you can voice your opinion.
Wow, nobody in the backstage today. What's going on, man?
Because we're early.
What's that? We're early?
Yeah, we're early. We got the price report, the news, and the guests knocked out before 11 a.m. which is great.
This is how it should be. We got shortwave. Shortwave's coming up. All right. All reliable. What's up, shortwave?
Hello.
How's it going, man?
It goes. How about yourself?
Chilling, enjoying the privacy coin pump. Right?
Oh yeah, me too.
A little controversial.
I haven't been paying that much attention, but it is nice to see. I definitely didn't know about Zcash pumping at all.
Wow, you that didn't even come across your radar?
Nope. I never look at any other privacy coin except Monero, and I barely ever check. I barely ever check the price of Monero.
You are the most hardcore of all, my friend. Do you literally interpret things in terms of price of Monero? Are you at that point?
Yes. I won't buy if I'm going to buy something on XMR Bazaar, I won't buy it unless it's priced directly in Monero.
Are you serious?
Yeah, wow. I'm serious. Wow. Like if it has the fiat price, if it's listed in fiat at all, I won't buy it.
Well, you should at least DM them and be like, yo, change it to Monero, then I'll buy.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
but I won't buy it unless it's priced in Monero.
Damn, man.
I'm gonna go down with the ship, bro. Like if the ship ever goes down, I'm going down with it.
Oh yeah. I'm at like the bottom of the ship. I feel like I'm part of the ship. I'm completely attached.
I price all my stuff in Monero. I use the average price. I won't buy anything if it's priced in fiat. If I'm gonna go down, if the ship goes down, I'm going down with it.
Yeah, don't worry, ship's not going down.
I know.
Ship is not going down.
Dude, I respect the hell out of that. I think there's like a balance where there's a lot of people I see who are like, Maxism is inherently bad. And then those same people, they aren't willing to really be loyal to anything. Because I get the ideal of being a privacy maximalist, where it's like, okay, I'm going to be maximalist to the ideals of privacy, and if there's something better, I'm going to probably promote that more or jump to that. But at the same time, I think there's a massive value in sort of having loyalty to a specific project that has proven itself over time. Imagine if something came out tomorrow and it suddenly it looked like it was like really, it's like amazing, right? It's like it's better than Monero in a lot of ways. Imagine if everyone just decided, oh, we're just going to jump ship. And then it turns out this project isn't that great. It isn't what it's all cracked up to be. And then the community gets split. And so I think there's a need for loyalty for like projects to survive, right? And I think something like Monero, because of its track record, because of its history, it makes sense to kind of be a Monero maximalist in a way. It's like, even if there's something like Zcash, right, that has some better technology, I'm not going to jump ship to Zcash just because it might have better sender privacy, even though there's a lot of these other peripheral things that are way worse than Monero, in my opinion. So yeah. I think some people seem to take being like loyal, being a maxi, as like an inherent negative, and I don't think it is an inherent negative. I think some people go way too far with it, especially with Bitcoin, which is why a lot of people don't like maxism, but I don't think it's inherently a bad thing. And I think it is, it can be noble to be loyal to a cause, to a project, because of the amount of work and the amount of years that have gone into it and the amount of people that have been a part of it. So all that to say is that I respect your position, Shortwave, and I think it's noble.
Yeah, I mean, my perspective, as long as the mission stays the same for Monero, right? Like, you know, and as far as I could tell, everybody's on board with the mission, right? Nothing has changed there, and it continues to evolve. If like the meme of Monero were to change and it was no longer untraceable, you know, unstoppable digital cash, and everybody was working towards that end, then that would be the time to, you know, separate yourself from the project, in my mind.
Yeah, exactly.
We're definitely far from that. Neil's just tipped 40 cents. Looking forward to how the feds are going to react to FCP++. That Zcash pump is an act out of desperation.
They already are reacting.
Everyone that's not making state boots is anyway shadow banned nowadays. Oops, sorry. Didn't mean to remove you, Shortwave.
I was just gonna say that. Did I lose my train of thought? Yes. Oh well, never mind.
Yeah, I get it back. Feel free to jump in.
I think there's a reasonable possibility that the Zcash pump actually has some legs that it could be sustained for some period of time. Again, I'm not confident about that, but it's a reasonable possibility that, yeah, this could be related to everything back there, everything happening in the background, and that, yeah, I mean, Nihilist, you're spot on. Like, there's a very real possibility that they're going to try and do their best, their last gasp, to steal some limelight from Monero. Okay, let them do it, I guess.
Oh, did any of you guys hear of Nosmero? Nosmero?
No.
It's a horrible name, by the way, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but like, God, people can't name things. It's a
NOS Monero.
Nosmero. Nosmero. It's a Nostr client for Monero that allows you to do Monero tips, Monero-based zaps, which is kind of cool. It's web-based, so you can access it from the web.
That is very cool.
And it lets you do Monero zaps, but just the name is terrible.
Bros, if y'all are listening, you just have to remove the M. Nosero would be fine, or Nosero would be totally fine, but Nosmero is it's retarded.
Monero Bros unable to name anything well. Award.
Yeah.
Again, award as
what's
usual.
up with that? There's like some correlation going on there.
I thought Nodo was a good name, right?
Nodo's fine. Yeah, that's easy. It's simple, rememberable, easy
Yeah,
to
Nodo's
say
fine.
for most languages.
Yeah. There was a strong. I forget what some of the other considerations were, but I'm glad we went with Nodo. I'll with you that way. XMR Bazaar, I think it's good. Rings off the, rolls off the tongue. It's got a nice sound to it.
I think if there was a shorter name that was easier to say, then maybe it could be consideration, because I find it harder to say like when I'm talking to someone, like saying eBay, that's so easy. That's easy. But XMR Bazaar, you have to really pronounce it out, and then in Spanish, it's even weirder because it's like XMR, right?
Yeah,
so it becomes even worse.
Yeah.
Which is a consideration like we didn't have before.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Monero Market had its monopoly on that name, but that one was a good one.
Yeah, that's pretty good too.
Everything is harder to say in Spanish. Like,
This is true.
Maybe we change the name.
Nah, I like the sound of it. It sounds pretty cool. It is hard to say, but one name I do like is Havino. I like the uniqueness of it. There's nothing else out there that's named Havino. There's no collision.
Yeah.
The more that I've written code, actually, the more that I've placed a high importance on idiomatic, succinct naming of things. I'm actually probably too anal about it. I'm like, if I'm writing a new code base, I'm going to be talking some not insignificant amount of time talking about nomenclature of variables and function names with with AI.
I mean, my thinking too, Tux, you were there when we were coming up with the name, right? I was also thinking of names that were just more general, right? Just about concept of a marketplace.
Look, guys,
versus
we got the
it
Calvary.
being a Monero
we got
marketplace.
AKN on.
There he is.
I did move a couple of tons of dirt real quick, but I'm here. I thought I had like 15 more minutes. You guys are freaking me out.
I know, like Bawdy said, we're ahead of schedule, so which is a good thing. How you doing, man?
Amazing. I was moving mountains this morning, literally.
What were you moving?
Mountains. Like
Mountains.
Literally. Yeah.
All right. I don't doubt it. You have any new visitors over there? Any new Monero visitors?
I do have some lined up, but you know
Really?
how Monero people are kind of privacy oriented. So,
dude, you just got to throw some Alaska like Airbnb posts up on XMR Bazaar so people can just properly.
I own the
Monero.com.
domain. I think Monero.homes and
Oh, that's you. Okay.
Monerbnb. And I'm not just sitting on them either. So, like, I do have a plan.
Yeah.
The guy that I was working with this morning is actually part of that plan. Basically having places that you can live at with no ID, it's truly like FOSS / no KYC dwellings is the idea.
So Alaska is going to be like the realtor of Monero, but Monero.homes is going to be like your Zillow or your realtor or whatever.
Well, the idea is I'm going to take the domain and I'm going to set it up and make it good. And then what I eventually want to do is just port the entire site over to XMR Bazaar and have that domain point to XMR Bazaar, but like the homes category or whatever.
There we go.
So you can call it like Monerairbnb and Monero.homes. And so if people are looking for just specifically somewhere to live, they can put that site in or whatever. So.
Oh, that would be cool. Nice.
Yeah, the I don't want to reveal too much because I hate it when like things change and then people are like, what happened to this? You know, like it's like doing stuff doesn't always go according to plan. But the idea is using a combination of like shipping containers, spray foam, and a few other things. We'll be able to create like lots of housing. And like very nice housing, like sophisticated housing. And we're scooping up properties that are kind of like close to the fiber optic lines. Because Alaska's got this weird schizophrenia going on where there's like fiber along the main highway arteries. And that's thousands of miles, right? But then there's all of these other places where like you struggle to even get your satellite internet working. So if you can scoop up certain locations, which there's a lot of, right? It's not like it's not like gold mining, right? Where you're looking for specific spots, because along these main highway arteries, there's just thousands and thousands of miles between each location. So you can get them on the cheap. The hard part is development, but I happen to be pretty good at that stuff. So it works out really good. That was, I don't know if he wants to say anything, but that was one of the reasons why I had Mateo up here, was to help me with some of the legal implications and the financial implications to doing this stuff. Amazing guy, by the way. I can't recommend him enough. If you need anything, if you need anything that has to do with books or stuff that I can't stand, that he's the guy for sure. He did incredible work.
That's awesome.
Actually, I think he put in like over 80 billable hours in 7 days. So, yeah, he's an animal.
Good for him. Yeah, it was great talking with him, having him on the show.
I don't think you realize this, but he was already like 60 some hours in or whatever, and in like 4 days. And when you were interviewing him, the guy had like 5 hours of sleep in the previous 2 days, and then he like rushed over here and was trying to. The man is a working machine. He's just unbelievable.
Really? Did he love Alaska?
Oh yeah. I mean, you can't help yourself if you even remotely enjoy the palette of freedom. This place is but if you don't like to work hard, this place is like
Sunita is not moving with me to Alaska. That's the only. She's not gonna do it. She's not gonna do it.
You just have to realize that it's not this homogeneous blob. There are places in Alaska that are warm. There are places in Alaska that are dry. There are places in Alaska that are a lot of things. It's huge. But the other thing is snowbirding is very, very popular up here, because half the year, and don't tell your friends, by the way, you can keep most of New York right where it is. Thank you. The thing is like a huge chunk of the year, the weather is the most desirable, most ideal place to live. And then if you don't like the cold, the idea is you should probably leave during another chunk of the year. But Southeast Alaska doesn't even really get very cold. It's got like a British Columbia vibe. It's like being on the coast of Washington. It's very warm because the ocean like does this circle around it. So the temperature can't drop very low because the ocean is constantly warming it up.
Pacific climate. Tropical Alaska. Now you're really pushing it, bro. You're really.
Those islands. You know how the islands that go all the way to Japan. You know how the Aleutians go all the way to basically Japan. There are literally temperate tropical sections of those islands. So there are actually tropical environments in Alaska. People don't realize how insanely huge this place is.
Oh no, not even a little bit.
It's like people have no idea. It's while we were driving around, I was like, yeah, it's just up the way, but it, you know, to a lower 48 dweller, it would be like another state. I'm like, yeah, we're just gonna go over to my buddies real quick, and it was like a 50-some mile drive, and it like you change climates twice on your way over there. And then we went to, I was showing him this farm, and then he was like, wait, people buy their food in Monero? I'm like, yeah, that's what we do here.
So if we were ever to have Monerotopia there, where would be the spot? We'd want to do it in the capital, obviously, right?
You would not want to do it in Anchorage. No.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot of.
It's got to be. We got to make it somewhat accessible. It's got to be easy enough.
Alaska's already not very accessible. Flying to Anchorage is a long flight for everybody. Yeah. But the thing is once you're in Anchorage, it's significantly easier than you would think to cover a lot of miles, because the whole place is designed for it. So you could have it 70, 80 miles away from Anchorage, and it's still only like an hour and 15 minutes to drive there. And it's totally worth it, because Anchorage is a disgusting cesspool. It's a terrible place. It's like some people are into it, but you might as well have it in New York, as far as I'm concerned.
Like it's like
they have event centers and stuff in Anchorage,
but Denver.
It's like the rest of Alaska is like Nederland or Boulder compared to Anchorage being like Denver. And I'm not talking about like the cool outside of Denver part. I'm talking about like the heart of Denver. And not only that, but if you look at a map, there's only so much room you can grow in Anchorage. So it's the only place in Alaska that's really densely packed. Everything else is super spread out. But that dense packed population of Alaska makes it really hard to enjoy yourself. It's pretty terrible.
Vincent, Alaska is not a good place for Monerotopia.
It would be really hard for people to get here. I mean, it would be kind of cool to do a different like Monero-based event for sure. But you know, the best way to do it would be you pick some time right in the heart of summer, and you go out to like nature. But there's tons of places that you can get like many acres of nature with campgrounds and all of that stuff, with power and all. I could have it all.
That would be more. That would be like a Burning Man, like a Monerotopia Burning Man. I do really want to stick to the theme of like showing up in a city where we could integrate into it, get the like local marketplace using Monero, and then leave the city with locals using Monero.
In that case, you need to stay in Central South America, because in the United States, that's not going to happen.
Why not? We get people here in New York using Monero at the markets,
because the United States is very not crypto. Like we in the United States, our currency, the U.S. dollar works well enough. Yeah. So we don't have that need for it.
But we do have a need to transact privately, right? People like having garage sales, and they accept cash. They don't accept credit card. Right?
Yes, but here people see Monero as an investment, or people would see like Bitcoin and Monero and all the other cryptos as something you put in your 401k or something you put on your Robinhood and gamble with. Right. Whereas in like Venezuela,
New Hampshire have
in New Hampshire that would be different. Yeah. But like in Venezuela or Argentina or Mexico or places like that, they see an actual need for this thing to exist. It's not part of their Robinhood. Let's day trade this thing. It's I can eat today because of this. That's the difference.
Yeah, Monerotopia Venezuela would be pretty epic.
I would say there is something about like doing an event in Alaska that I would really strongly advocate for, which is having a business to business focused Alaska event. Because as a percentage of the population, I would be willing to bet that Alaska has the highest business to business adoption. It's a lot, actually. Like there's a lot of people that are interested in accepting Monero. I've told the audience before, but the problem with Alaska is nobody's willing to spend Monero. you can easily get an 8, 10, 12% discount to just shop in Monero anywhere for businesses up here. But then you would have to pry it out of their cold, dead hands to get them to spend it. Like, everybody is accumulating, nobody is spending. But that said, the business-to-business climate for Monero is pretty hot here. But even more importantly, I think that business people, in fact, it's very common for them to go do their meetings in Alaska, because like on a hunting trip or like a fishing trip or whatever. Business to business clients love to come to Alaska. And I think that there's room for something like that for sure in the space, especially as we see adoption grow.
Actually, guys, let me go ahead and run the
guest segment.
Yes.
Hey guys, I'm gonna peace out.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bawdy. God bless you.
Thanks, AK.
Here we go.
The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
And you always control your own keys.
Alaska and Shortwave are our special guests today.
I'm humbled.
Always special.
So I had this theory built on top of the theory about, so let's just say, and I have no opinion on whether or not this is the case, but for the purposes of this conversation, let's say the Zcash pump is an attempt at diffusing the whole Monero circular economy thing, diffusing a price pump for Monero, which very well could be. I could see that. But with my subtitle there, Ztrash buys time, one of the things that I see happening, because I'm like the permanent bullish, Monero is the future, blah, blah, blah. This actually is an excellent way for us to avoid the limelight long enough to get FMCP in place, figure out what we want to do about further diffusing the, diffusing the mining situation? Not diffusing, dispersing. I think you guys know what I'm trying to say there. Decentralizing would be a great word for it. This really does buy us a lot of time to prepare for a wider adoption. And I've noticed that people who are currently using Monero just didn't really seem to care about the reorgs, even the ones who understand how like dire the situation kind of is.
I mean, the big thing to do with the reorgs was just wait a little bit longer. So sure, your Monero's not safely confirmed within 20 minutes, but within 40 minutes it's safely confirmed or whatever. Havano just moved up from 10 confirmations to 30 and called it a day.
Yeah, like, and that's kind of what I was thinking too, as far as with the reorg thing. It does push the confirmation time, but it also causes us to revisit the idea of, remember a couple of shows ago where Arctic Mine was on here, and we were talking about changing the time on the blocks and like the pros and cons to doing longer or shorter or whatever. I don't know if you guys remember that, but
yep.
I had been saying for a while that not only improving the tail emission, which everybody freaks out like it's blasphemy, but I still think that it needs to go up. But then also changing the timing on the blocks, you could totally just mess with it a little bit to make it much more difficult to profit from producing orphan blocks, which it's already a loss, but you make it even more expensive. And you incentivize honest mining by pumping the tail emission. And I'm willing to die on this hill that like Monero should at least be closer to gold in its tail emission. And now we have several months of evidence that like, yeah, nobody cares if there's a 3% inflation on gold. Nobody cares. They're still buying it. They still love it. They're still using it as currency and savings and all of that. And honestly, I think Monero would make a better case for going higher than gold does, for the simple reason that almost all the gold ever mined is still either in a vault or in circulation. It has basically no waste. I mean, if you've ever been to India, you'll see people that go to where smelters used to be, and they'll sift the waste out of where the smelters were to try to get just a couple of little flakes. Like, gold is extremely efficient at being recycled. Monero is lost all the time. And that alone kind of says it should at least match gold, because gold doesn't go anywhere, but Monero gets lost periodically, and you're not about to find it again. You're not about to recover lost Monero. It just doesn't happen. Everybody hates my blasphemous raise the tail emission. I just think that there's like vestiges of Bitcoin in the idea of keeping it low, you know, and what really freaked me out was when people were more open to the idea of, as opposed to raising tail emission, they were more interested in raising transaction fees. And it's like, the transaction fees being virtually zero is easily one of the biggest draws to Monero there is. And it would have less of an effect on the incentivizing mining than raising tail emission anyway. So like, I think the idea of raising transaction fees is where the blasphemy is. Where did Michael go? I just saw him.
I don't know. He was up here and then he bounced that way. Here he is. Here he is.
Yay!
Michael, what's up, man?
Yo, what's up? Hey, what's up? How's it going?
I would imagine you have something to say about the idea of raising Monero's transaction fees. Come on. Go at it.
Well, I'll pose it with a question. Well, I could just talk on that subject, I suppose. I just freestyle it. One sec. I'm going to hear myself talk because there's a slight delay.
Yeah, fix your sound up a little bit on your side.
Yeah. Is that better? Sure. Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Oh, I know. I got YouTube up too. There we go. That's, I think, good. Okay. You can hear me? I closed YouTube.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that background pic taken in Alaska? Is that southern Alaska behind?
Yes.
Behind
If you go right above where Canada is to the southest part, this is basically Alaska. So,
yeah, that's the Aleutian Islands on the far east.
So it's really it's a nice place like that with the palm trees right there. But no, I mean transaction fees. So like cryptocurrencies and whatever. You know, we got the US dollar, which, you know, that actually, if you think of cash, that has a zero transaction fee by itself. If you go to a 7-Eleven, spend dollars, that's a zero transaction fee. But, you know, you can't really send it digitally. You know, but I mean, what's the end goal? So where do you see Monero in, you know, 5 or 10 years? Because I'll just say this. It's actually a really easy statement. Because if you think, let's say you want to have Monero, one sec, I got to get this game going. I'm going to turn it down. But if you have, in 5 or 10 years, let's say, there's 8 billion humans. Let's say you want to get 1 billion humans using Monero and have a circular economy of 1 billion humans. You simply can't do that if you have a high transaction fee. Like, it's just literally not going to happen. If you have a transaction fee that's even as high as Ethereum right now, which has gone down quite a bit. I bought my first Ethereum domain recently. I bought 10 years of domain, Michael10.eth, for like $50 with like a $2 or $3 transaction fee. So, you know, and but yeah, I mean, if you have a transaction fee of 5 or 10 cents, whatever the crypto economics of that would be, or whatever the underlying, mining systems where people want to say, oh yeah, let's milk all we can out of the transaction fees and get a transaction fee of 5 or 10 cents. That's super reasonable. It's not going to work in a circular economy of 1 billion people. I mean, I see that as a fact. I mean, is anybody advocating for a higher transaction fee for Monero for some reason?
Yeah, there's people saying that the security budget needs to be raised to incentivize mining.
Yeah.
And I don't want there to be no transaction fees, because the idea is you want to create just enough friction to prevent the blockchain from getting unnecessarily bloated.
No,
but it should be the absolute smallest number you can possibly get. And the idea of I mean, why even switch from Visa once you get to 1%?
Okay. So their security strategy then is to take a gun metaphorically and shoot themselves in the foot. That doesn't seem like a very good security strategy. But
exactly. I just don't see it. You would have to raise it so high that you would be making it not digital cash. And like you said, with cash, there's 0 transaction fees. If you're trying to be like cash, aren't you trying to get as close to 0 as possible?
Yeah, and what so they think you can raise the transaction fee and make it more secure because you just throw money at security and all of a sudden that's going to solve the problem. Just like more taxes solves all the social problems.
If we just got taxed harder, we'd be in a utopia. I don't know.
The philosophy of judo is 2-part. One, and I think Monero community should adopt the philosophy of judo. I'll tell you what it is. And you go look up. It'll be this. One is Seriaki Zenyo, which is Japanese. It means I'll tell you the other one first, which is benefit self and others. So it's 2-part philosophy: benefit self and others. So it's like the golden rule: do unto others what you want others to do unto you. Seems reasonable. The other one, Seriaki Zenyo, maximum efficiency, minimal effort. So whether in judo or Monero security, I mean, I think those, the circular economies, I think, can be the benefit self and others. And then the, security and all that, and whatever else, even development in general, or reaching that billion user circular economy, maximum efficiency, minimal effort, and benefit self and others. I think that's reasonable. Personally.
What I like about the idea of there being a higher tail emission and keeping transaction fees low enough to only provide a little bit of resistance to blockchain bloat, the smallest number you can provide, but still enough to prevent people from bloating the blockchain. The reason why I love tail emission so much is because no matter what amount you pick, until you hit a certain ceiling or a certain floor, whatever amount you pick is going to end up creating an equilibrium for supply. Yeah. So go ahead.
And use the term tail emissions. I mean, I understand what that is, but I think a lot of people who are into crypto don't understand what that is, because it's basically you're paying the miners, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but
yeah. Tail emission is a fixed supply chain growth over time.
Every time a block is found, miners whoever finds that block gets the tail emission. I mean, am I wrong?
0.6 every 2 minutes right now. 0.6 Monero every 2 minutes.
0.6 Monero. Minute. How many Monero? Okay, point.
Look, it's already lower than. I mean, it's always actually been lower than 1% per year.
So is the tension there then, as far as either funding security or development or whatever else, the tension between should we raise the transaction fee or should we raise the tail emission? Because the tail emission is sort of like, increasing the money supply, basically, right?
As far as I understand, I'm the only person that thinks we should raise tail emission that I know of.
I mean, is it a common consensus that there needs to be more funding for either security or development, or is that pretty much okay?
The thing is you already mine Monero at a loss. Basically, everybody who's not botnetting somebody else's computer. But the thing is the person mining the Monero is mining it on their behalf at a loss. So it's still at a loss.
So basically, raising the tail emission could, in theory, make Monero mining more profitable. But now with the bot networks just increase and it would become unprofitable again, if you think about the crypto economics of it?
Probably not. But it kind of doesn't matter. Because the thing is if you want to improve the hash rate of Monero, if you want to make it more expensive for somebody who wants to centralize the network, you can either raise the hash rate or you can make it more expensive to mine, like energy wise. The problem with doing it energy wise is, number one, you're further removing it from the reach of people who want to participate. And then number two, if somebody has deep pockets, they can just pay that cost and get the higher hash rate. The ideal situation is to raise the hash rate in a distributed way.
Yeah,
it's the most ideal way. And the thing is, what I've been trying to point out is Monero has a lower tail emission than the annual inflation of the gold supply. And it's actually a lot lower. So the annual inflation of the gold supply historically is a little over 1%. But in the last 5 years or 6, I could be wrong about how many years, but it's about 5 years, gold has inflated its supply by 3% per year. And Monero is at like 80, or it's at like 0.8% per year. And it was a totally arbitrary number that was selected for how big the tail emission was going to be. And what they said during those time, I even looked at all of the notes from the meetings and stuff. They said they wanted it to be slightly lower than gold. Well, now it's a lot lower than gold. And the other thing is it's going to keep getting lower than gold faster because it's a fixed supply increase of 0.3 per minute. So over time, it's going to be an ever decreasing percentage of the supply. And I am only saying that it would be more ideal to do something algorithmic that keeps it almost exactly 1% over time.
Have you posted that? Is it the ccs.getmonero.org where, like, if this was going to happen, it would have to be proposed and approved? Is that the mechanism?
Ain't nobody looking to increase the tail emission around here, man.
Yeah, I'm like totally alone on this.
No, thank you.
No, okay. So, Doug, I'm curious if you are saying the tail emission is not good. What I mean, so if I'm thinking of the tail emission, and I've thought about mining Monero periodically, and I periodically have, although I don't, barely anything, like it's very almost negligible. I mean, so it makes sense to me that mining should be at least minimally profitable. So what's the argument for saying that mining shouldn't be minimally profitable? Because if you're saying the tail emission should not be raised, you're basically advocating, no, we should keep mining not profitable. Because I've looked at it, I've done the math myself a variety of times. Yeah, it's not profitable unless you get free electricity or very low cost, like abnormally low cost electricity. So
and then
if the price of Monero goes up, right? So I think if you add to the tail emission, the price of Monero will go down.
But that's not true. That's verifiably empirically not true. Like because here's the thing.
I got to step away for a second, but I'm listening to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, price is far more affected by money velocity than supply in fiat. And another good example is gold inflates the supply ahead of and during price pumps. So, and the other thing is the fastest way to kill a currency is to kill its liquidity. And Monero has probably the worst liquidity problem in all of crypto. My point is, if you had an easier way to access the Monero supply, and if you had a higher hash rate, and by the way, I forgot his name now, but you remember that guy from Portugal and Germany that used to come on all the time? Man, I miss him. He was awesome. But he had a theory that has actually held up, and it has stood the test of time. Improvements in hash rate improve the price. So the more hash rate Monero has, the higher the price seems to be. And a lot of people say, oh, the hash rate goes up because the price pumps. Then why does it always lead? Like, hash rate tends to lead, as in the increase in hash rate starts, then the price goes up, and then the hash rate continues to grow. And the other thing is, if you flood the economy with dollars, which we've seen many times in the last whatever, you usually don't even see the inflation and the cost of goods for like many, many years. But the thing is gold's inflation rate is higher than it's ever been. And the price is not only pumping against the dollar, but gold's price is pumping against real stuff right now. And it's got an inflation of over 3%. And so my point is, on top of the fact that Monero is lost over time, and I basically guarantee you more than 0.3 Monero a minute is lost. Like, so the supply is currently going down, and it is affecting the liquidity. And the reason why people don't ape into Monero is because they can't get it. So, like, I can sell Monero in Alaska all day until I have no supply whatsoever. And people are only hungry for more. And what do? They hodl. Like, we have a liquidity crisis in Monero.
Although part of that, I would think at least part of that is your own fault. And the reason I say that is because you guys in Alaska aren't willing to get on an exchange to get more Monero. I can understand why, don't get me wrong. But if you were to go on Swap or something and use Zelle or PayPal or Venmo or something, you could get some more Monero.
See, but that's another problem that, like, and this is actually kind of more like a tech side of things. And I don't know how many times Chloe has to say it, and nobody's like, they think they're listening, but they're not. Like, Monero's technical barrier is already too high. Getting Monero's technical barrier is nearly impossible for most people. Like, so for example, like, I have trouble getting people to use NewPipe instead of YouTube. NewPipe instead of YouTube is a lot easier than downloading Cake Wallet and taking a payment. Using Cake Wallet is a lot easier than, like, literally every other wallet. Like, and people say, oh, a lot of these wallets are good. It's like, I've tried to get people to use wallets other than Cake Wallet. No bueno. It never works. Like, Edge Wallet is amazing if you want to be a business person or whatever. But Cake Wallet is like the only wallet that works for a fresh-faced normie. Now, whenever I start telling them, yeah, I can get you some Monero, they're like, okay, where do I buy more? If I start saying things like, okay, well, you're going to go on an exchange, you're going to buy this, Litecoin, and you're going to swap it on this exchange. Or if I say, okay, download Zelle, and they're like, oh, no, I'm not doing that. Like, most people can't use their banking app. Just yesterday, I asked 3 people to send me a map pin, okay? And 3 for 3, none of them knew how to use a map pin on anything. Not like, what is that, like, shitty Apple one? I forget, but they couldn't use it on their Apple thing. They couldn't use it on Google Maps, and they definitely don't know anything about OSM. You know, I use OSM all the time. It's amazing. In fact, usually the directions are better than Google. That's not the point. People cannot figure out how to use any of this stuff. They can't figure out how to send a map pin. They can barely figure out how to read directions when they put in an address. The technical barrier to acquiring Monero is absolutely insane to most people.
It's retardedly hard.
Right. So when somebody asks you how to use Monero, how to buy Monero, the answer should be, hey, come to me and I'll get you Monero. That's what it is. You'll have to sacrifice yourself and use PayPal or Zelle or Venmo or Coinbase or something to get the Monero, but you can charge a fee of, like, a couple percent or whatever, and you can make and that's what your fee will be for getting that Monero for that person, so that person doesn't have to go through the inconvenience of learning it themselves.
Currently, I'm averaging a 10% markup on Monero because I'm trying to be generous. And actually, Tux has followed my journey on trying to acquire Monero, and so has Michael. The delay on getting Monero KYC free is often 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Like, at this point, the money velocity and the cash flow on doing that swap, okay, and I've priced it out, it is probably going to be cheaper for me to go get a whole bunch of CPUs and then build them into the water tank that is used for the fire suppression system at the shop that I work at, and then just start mining Monero. The problem is the money velocity sucks, and the return on investment for mining sucks. And this is a place where I get free power, and I have a giant cooling tank in the Arctic. So think about that. If I get free power and I have a giant tank of water, it's 80,000 gallons that I can circulate that in the Arctic. All right. If it's too expensive for me, how expensive is it for anybody else? The only people who are mining right now are botnets and people who are super, super into Monero, like myself. Okay. There is such a nightmare of liquidity. And I'm willing to die on this hill. It is too hard to get Monero. It is too expensive to mine Monero. And it is too hard to get into these on and off ramps, which Doug has been saying forever. But I'm saying the two are causally related right now. If you were to raise the hash rate by improving, and I'm talking about like a 15% increase in tail emission, it's nothing. It's literally nothing. It's still way lower than gold. And the thing is you will see people ape into this thing because all of a sudden other people can get their hands on Monero other than people who use botnets. All of a sudden people will stop buying VPNs with it because they'll be buying fish with it. They'll be buying chicken with it. They'll be buying bricks with it. You see, like, that's the biggest problem. Your regular blue-collar worker cannot get their hands on it. I know tons and tons of people that come over to my house every day that would buy it right now if I could get the supply that I would like to have. And, I mean, I'm tens of thousands of dollars a year into buying Monero, allegedly, according to maybe in theory until the boating accident, blah, blah, blah. But tens of thousands of dollars.
I see the solution coming through increasing the on-ramps, right? Whether that's like Monero ATMs, more local Monero type stuff, obviously Havino, XMR Bazaar. I don't see the solution being increasing the supply of Monero. First and foremost, you're just breaking the covenant that you've had with the community from day one on Monero supply being predictable, right? And now we're saying, no, that can change at times. It's a complete non-starter, in my opinion.
I just created a GitHub issue. I was asking in a large language model, how do the changes in Monero happen? And it's not just CCS. I guess there's a whole variety. So if you go on the I guess the GitHub issue would be a way to hash it out on more than just the discussion of 5 people. The wider community would need to decide, I suppose.
Random person tipped $3.25 for what it's worth. I agree with Alaskanon that raising the tail emission is a good idea. One reason is that having some inflation creates incentive. We already do have some inflation. Creates incentive to use the currency and not passively just hold it. Main argument against it is that it's generally bad to change things. Yeah, look, I couldn't. I hope that's Alaska that actually sent that to, but I don't think it is. Doug, listen, guys. If you want to kill Monero tomorrow, let's raise the tail emission as Zcash is pumping and approaching its market cap. That will put the nail in the coffin for Monero at that point.
I guess it's your position, Doug. Basically, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
But it's broke.
No, it's deeper than that. Yeah. I don't see it as being broken. I think the market will fix that. The marketplace. There's plenty of Monero out there. The price, if people are demanding Monero, then the price of Monero should be going up.
What if
you're telling me people in Alaska can't get Monero if they're willing to pay for it? Of course they can
hear
find
me out.
Monero.
When the tail emission thing came out, it was a novel idea. Okay. We knew that tail emission was a smart move for securing your blockchain, keeping transactions low, all of that stuff. The number that was selected was entirely arbitrary. Okay? No one had any data. No one had any modeling that made any sense at all because no one knew what the right number was going to be. and it has not changed. I mean, you could argue that it changed because they doubled it when they doubled the size of the block times, okay? But it was still the same percentage. My point is, we now have data, okay? We have real data. And the difference between like, oh, if you can just change it arbitrarily, no. If the entire community comes together and they say, okay, we've had tail emission only started, what, like 4 years ago, I think, or something like that? We've only had data for 4 years.
Oh, you mean kicked in?
It kicked in 4 years ago. Before that, the inflation rate was way higher. And the thing is, tail emission has only existed for a couple of years. We have data now. And my only point is, if you wanted to be scientific, academic, and really understand what the right number was, Monero is basically the only blockchain that has even tried this. Nobody knew what the right number was. And my point is, now that I've seen data, and now that we have data, I think that we need to revisit what the right number is before there's
what your data is showing. What though? I mean, data is look at Bitcoin. There's a lot. Bitcoin is a lot more data than Monero, right? It's been around longer. It's doing, but just it's not fine, and it doesn't. It has a cap. Exactly, even worse.
Yeah, the amount of transactions from Monero, I'm looking at the BitInfo chart, it's basically been flat since like 2021. So if you're thinking of, now I don't know if you have other metrics of Monero usage.
It's capped out by money velocity. How do you fix money velocity? With inflation. Monero has inflation for the purposes of tail emission. There is data proving that it is too low.
Or as Alaskanon said, it may actually have deflation. Like it may be that people are just losing Monero, so the price isn't going up because people find it valuable. It's because the people that are using it are having less and less of it and harder to get it, so they're paying more for it. And it may be like,
that would cause the price to go up.
Defeating aging. So at the current rate of Monero use, transaction use, let's say you're 35, then by the time in 55 years when you're 90, Monero usage in the circular economy may go up like a little bit. I mean, again, look, I'm just looking at the BitInfo chart.
They call it the gold standard, right? They call it the gold standard because gold was the standard for cash. Everybody in the world understood that gold was the most ideal cash. Gold has discovered its inflation rate based on what the appropriate amount of mining more gold to hold its value is. We have 6,000 years of data on what the market's most ideal inflation rate is. And it is higher than Monero. Gold has never stopped being mined at more than 1% a year in 6,000 years. And right now,
but gold is a physical asset that's not infinitely divisible. Monero is a digital asset that's infinitely divisible.
Well, the thing is gold is technically pretty much infinitely divisible. And what I mean by that is...
No, it's not. No, nobody's walking around with the atoms of gold in their pocket. I mean,
that's true in the physical sense. But the thing is over and over again throughout history, people will either use admixtures, so they'll mix gold with another metal to cut it down. Or another thing is people will use like banking institutions, settlement layers, all of this other stuff. But the thing is that doesn't hold up against the core of my argument, which is all markets in world history, when you're looking at gold, have demanded an inflation rate higher than 1% for 6,000 years. And then whenever there's a need for more inflation, they just mine more gold. And then it never dips down to zero. It has never dipped down to zero in thousands of years. It has always been at least 1%. Monero's tail emission started below 1%. And it's having a liquidity problem. What would you do if gold was having a liquidity problem? You would go and mine more. The problem with Monero is you can't just go mine more. You see? So
right, but with Monero, it's infinitely divisible. So if the market demands more, there's more of it to then go around in terms of as the price goes up, people are going to be willing to part with some portion of their Monero. Right. But if there's enough demand for it, you're not going to sell your Monero if it's $10,000 tomorrow. You'd be unwilling.
But here's the thing: if you have demand going up and you have supply going down, you're right. that it will pump the price and maybe someone will eventually sell. The problem is, unlike the free market where competition can come in, if the demand is exclusively for Monero, what's going to happen is eventually there's going to be a liquidity crisis and the price is going to tank, because that's what always happens when there's a shortage of anything. People move to something else. So I'll give you an example. Germanium would make a way better microchip.
I'm just not seeing the shortage that you're talking about. There's plenty of Monero out there, and it's infinitely divisible, right? I mean, we could
how much to buy Monero from you right now?
What do you want to get? What do you mean? I mean, I would have this conversation
as
offline.
Much as you have. I'll buy as much as you have.
For any price that I name? I mean, that makes no sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
What's your price?
I'll give you a 1 Monero for $600 right now.
Okay, so if I send you $600 right now, how would you like to receive it? And look, we'll keep it on the hush hush, but just.
So you're saying that's that you're willing to part with $600 of fiat for 1 Monero right now?
Yes.
And you're saying that demand can't be met. I will meet that demand. Obviously, I'll be your Monero guy. I'll send you all of the Monero you need.
Perfect. Okay. How long before you dry up? No, seriously, think about it. How long before your supply dries up?
Not as a business, of course, but I do need cash. So
no, this is charity, bro. Like
I need to diversify too. I mean,
if you don't believe me, ask the people who've come up here and watch the circular economy. I can command basically any price I want for the businesses accepting Monero right now. And the minute they have it, they will never sell.
That sounds like an amazing problem to have. I'm not saying so you're.
Bro, come up here.
I'm willing to do this experiment if you want. If you want to start buying Monero from me at double the market price, it doesn't seem like a fair deal. But, as a friend, I don't want to do this to you. But if you're saying that you truly would pay those numbers, yes, I will be your first customer.
I can't do the math, but there are 1 trillion Piconero in 1 Monero, and there are 18,600,000 and something Monero in existence. So how many Piconero is that? Like, I can't do that math.
Right.
Okay, but let's check something the other way. I'm gonna try it right now. Hold on.
And by the way, Doug, is there a stats page in XMR Bazaar as far as how many buys and sells are happening per day?
It's on the very top bar. It says there's how many users and how many orders and everything else.
Okay, nice. But there's no graph. Like I like graphs.
No, we could. We could add a stats page at some point. We don't have it yet though.
Yeah, I think that. Nice. Yeah. Because why is the price of Monero going up? Are more people using it? I
mean, supply demand. Yeah, supply demand. Right.
Right, but people could just buy it and hodl it, and that is demand. And then that could be why it's going up. People are just anticipating they'll want to use it later, or just is it because it's price speculation? I think that's a notable question.
Hey, Shortwave, signal me your Monero receive address.
Sure, give me a second.
Because I want to see what the transaction fee is going to be if I just start spamming Piconeros right now.
And if I just want to go online and buy Monero right now, is the best way to do it Haveno or RedoSwap or Basic Swap or BIS? Are those basically the best options if I just want to if I'm just some anonymous person online, I'm I want to get
RedoSwap is probably the best way right now if you want to do it in a proper way. Yeah. Obviously, if you want a super user-friendly way, you're not trying to be like Anon, then, make a Kraken account and start buying Monero with your bank account.
Okay. Can you send it off Kraken, though? Do they allow...
Yeah, 100%. Okay. I mean, unless I haven't heard that changed, that would be crazy.
Well, that's KYC, I think.
So Kraken, the way I buy Monero every single month is I go on Coinbase and I transfer my money to Coinbase and I buy USDC. Mm-hmm. And then I take USDC and I send it to Solana or Polygon, and then I go to truckador.app and I take that USDC and swap it with fixed float or whatever they recommend at the time for Monero. Works every time.
Right.
And have you noticed how the premium on Monero keeps going higher and higher on these exchanges?
That's notable.
We didn't hear you, Shortwave. Say again.
Oh, I haven't. I actually don't pay that much attention, honestly. I just buy it. I don't care what I have to pay for it. I just buy it.
Well, one of you guys signal me a Monero address so I can demonstrate something real quick.
I'm working on it.
Go ahead. Peter saying why you guys don't buy XMR in exchanges. Personally, I don't. For a couple, I earn Monero right through the businesses and stuff, which is an ideal way. In my opinion, that's the most ideal way to obtain Monero, right? Other than mining it, is earning it, doing stuff for it. You're getting paid in it. You're contributing to the circular economy. But the other reason I don't is because I can't. I'm a New Yorker. There's no centralized exchange that I could buy Monero on. If there was, I would have, of course, be throwing my fiat into Monero every now and then. But I can't. Obviously, I could jump through hoops. I could buy some Litecoin on Coinbase and send it through an instant exchange. But yeah, and so why people don't buy it on exchanges? One, it's not on a lot of exchanges, and two, it's not the ideal way to obtain it. Obviously, the more ideal way is if you could do it without KYC, and you could anonymously purchase your Monero.
The funny
on
thing
XMR
is,
Bazaar, on Rito Swap. There are a lot of ways to do it.
Yeah. Or leave your computer on overnight and make a profit.
the interesting thing is that on XMR Bazaar, I don't get as many orders as you'd think I would. So I sell, things like tampons and toothbrushes and things that people would need to live a daily life on Monero, and I don't get as many orders as you'd think you would. So that's somewhat surprising to me. So I would sell more things on XMR Bazaar and get more Monero that way if people would actually buy it.
Yeah, I mean that's it's people have to be willing to part with their Monero, right? That's really what it comes down to there. And also too, we have to improve the usability to the point where it's just as easy to grab your toilet paper on XMR Bazaar as it is on Amazon, right? It never will be as easy, but
no.
Listen, I'd be willing to start buying toilet paper at some point when right out of a need.
Okay, so the first one I sent to 10. So I sent 0.000001 XMR. The fee was 0.00003 XMR, meaning that the fee was much higher, a lot higher than the transaction.
That was with 3 zeros in front of the 3.0.
Yeah, it should tell you what the fee is in your site.
Oh, look, it's not there yet.
Yeah. But then the next one I sent was larger. I sent 4 zeros and a 1 to shortwave. And the fee was 4 zeros and a 3 to shortwave. Are you guys not understanding this? This does not
price of Monero has to go up. If you start labeling things in terms of peak and Monero, maybe that helps.
Out here though is if the price of Monero goes up even 10x, then your transaction fee is also going up by 10x. You're going to hit a wall. And it's my opinion that we're already seeing the limits of a liquidity problem in Monero. First, you see it in the circulation. Then you see it in the supply itself, because eventually it's going to be more and more quarantined. And anybody who's hodling Monero stands to gain even more by continuing to hodl. The amount of liquidity is just going to keep drying up and drying up and drying up until all of a sudden people don't want to use it anymore because they can't get any, and then the price tanks. And look, this has happened in country after country after country that tried this approach. There's it's happening in China right now, where they've now reached a point where if they don't inflate the supply enough, then people are going to continue hoarding their cash into oblivion. And that's with a crazy high inflation rate. And my other point is, once again, if the purpose of Monero is to be private digital cash, we should be emulating the most effective cash that has ever existed. And supplies that don't grow over time don't last as cash. You end up with Gresham's law on steroids, where it's one of the reasons why land prices in certain areas go up, even though like a certain distance from those cities, the land prices never go up, is because people want that specific location. It doesn't matter how much land is available. They want that one location. So I just I've never been convinced that this completely arbitrary number for tail emission, 0.3 per minute, no one had any reason for settling on that other than they wanted it to be less than 1%. That was the only reason that they said 0.3 per minute, which then became 0.6 per 2 minutes. But there was no academic logic behind picking that number at all. And we've only been trying it for a little while. And people are like, oh, it's a non-starter to change it. Change an arbitrary number? Like, now we have data. You just change it once.
How long has it been? 0.6 every 2 minutes?
Yeah, 0.6 every 2 minutes.
Yeah, how long is it? Like all of Monero's existence?
Yeah, forever and ever and ever. So it's going to go from 8% to 7% to 6% to 5%. Gold stays at 1% per year, no matter how big the supply is, and often goes higher. Even though the supply has been growing and growing and growing, it's been a percentage-based thing. This is a fixed number, which is actually going to make the problem worse every single year, forever.
I mean, I got to say to the play devil advocate. I mean, yeah, this is tradition. You don't want to mess with tradition sometimes.
Yeah, it's more than tradition. It's the covenant, right? It's the social contract, right? From people started.
It'd be like raising Bitcoin's. If I could tried to raise the what's that called again? The block size. You don't want to mess with the block size. You want to have a 1 megabyte block size forever.
Well, no, even more than that. It's more extreme than that.
Trashed and dunked on what's his name? I forget. The guy who was trying to add tail emission to Bitcoin.
Peter Todd.
Peter Todd. People were dunking on Peter Todd for that idea since he threw it out there. And Monero people are like, yeah, tail emission's a great idea. I am only saying that the number that was selected completely.
No, I get what you're saying. Listen, man, if there's others that like can be just that with data can say this is like causing a problem in Monero, maybe, but I'm not seeing.
I love tail emission. I love what it does for the blockchain. I love everything about it. And I'm not the kind of guy that likes to just change shit, right? Like, if there's got to be a reason. But I am thoroughly convinced that people are not actually even trying to look at whether or not this number is the right number. We all agree on tail emission. We all agree on digital cash.
We're not looking at the number because it is a vital part of what Monero is the covenant that it's supply
the covenant
curve.
Is made up, Doug. It's made up.
Every covenant is made up. It's humans agreeing on an abstract concept, but that's what we agreed upon, right? And that the supply emission curve of Monero is this, and it will never change. Yeah. It's no longer Monero if you started changing the emission curve, right? Now it's something else. It's a different project at that point.
It kind of reminds me of like it has to be proof of work or bust. I happen to be a proof of work guy, but
I think it's different than that. I think this is more fundamental to the promise. Like, no, I wasn't, the promise isn't that it's proof of work. The promise is that it's going to be decentralized, that it's going to be permissionless. Proof of work is a means to that end.
But here's the thing.
But the promise is that it's going to have a fixed supply curve that can never change. That was the promise.
Yes, but if one promise is conflicting with another promise, which I think
what is the promise that it's conflicting with? What is the promise that it's
the primary function, if I'm understanding Monero, the primary function above all else, private digital cash. That's the number one goal. Okay. Mm-hmm. And if the number one goal is saying we are not competing with the best version of cash that has ever existed, which is gold, and we now have data that we did not have, and this data is showing us that we need to line up more closely with gold. That is all I'm saying. And if people are like, well, you're changing
I'm not
the supply.
seeing that it can't be cash because of its current tail emission. I'm not seeing that as holding it back from being untraceable.
Okay, let me give you an example. If the purpose of cash is it's supposed to be a unit of, it's a measurement of human energy, it's a measurement of the value of all things, it's a price discovery mechanism. I mean, I realize this, the Monero community, this isn't above people's heads because that's part of what most people end up here over. But for the viewing audience, just generally, the idea behind a monetary unit is it is a price discovery mechanism. It's hard to know how many chickens for a boat, but if you can value a boat in your currency and you can value chickens in your currency, you can come up with a number and you don't have to trade chickens for boats. Everybody understands that, okay? If the purpose as a price discovery mechanism for cash is that it should value all things equally, well, more goods enter the economy over time. They always have, and they always will, because human energy leads to the deployment of capital for the purposes of creating more goods in the economy, okay? That goods supply, the whole supply of all goods, is inflationary, and it will always be inflationary. The question is, how inflationary? Tail emission already concedes the idea that your money supply must increase. We connect that to securitizing the blockchain because the security of the blockchain is part of the value proposition of Monero. I am saying the security budget for Monero is undervalued, and I am saying that the supply is currently overvalued relative to goods and services, which is actually suppressing the price of Monero. That's what I'm saying. And we have proof now. We didn't know when tail emission was created for many years, actually. Tail emission was created way before it was implemented, okay? And the number that was selected was completely arbitrary. And now I am saying we have data now. Let's revisit the number. And
I get what you're saying. I know. I totally get your argument.
There's no covenant there.
Yeah.
There's never been a covenant on we want to fix supply, therefore it's this number. The covenant is we want to fix supply. And now that we have data, let's pick the fixed supply. We tried
but we already picked the fix. We already picked the fixed supply. And then my response is that it hasn't. You're concluding that it's wrong. I believe that price will adjust and the market will adjust, and that the fact that it is theoretically infinitely divisible as a unit of account, that there is enough Monero or Picanero or whatever it is to go around, and that's how this problem gets fixed. Not
the only way that it's infinitely divisible, as I just demonstrated, the only way it's infinitely divisible is if the fee stays lower than the transaction. And I just pointed out to the whole audience that it only takes 4 zeros for the fee to be triple the value of the Monero. Triple.
So Alaskanon, you're basically, so Doug is basically taking the position, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You're saying it is broken.
Yes.
But is the metric that you're saying is broken basically the transaction fee chart? If you're going to point to one thing, say it is broken.
Look, if you have a graph and the transaction fee is going up,
I meant transaction number. Sorry, I misspoke. But
if the transaction fee is asymmetric to the value of the Monero, which it is, okay, we already know that. It's built right into the blockchain. If anything, we should lower the transaction fee even more and raise the inflation rate a lot more.
Vincent is saying no quicker way to kill Monero than by increasing its tail emission. I tend to agree with Vincent.
Yeah.
The solution is much, much higher token price, which increased tail emission will kill. Exactly. I feel like you're just going to shoot yourself in the foot.
If you increase the price, then you're moving the decimal place up. Okay. Down. Sorry, you're moving the decimal place now down. So if I want to spend
oh boy, we have I2P in the studio. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah. Let's hear what he has to say. I'm gonna add him to stage.
If the price of Monero were to
bring
hit
Ulysses
10,
up as well.
If the price of Monero were to hit 10,000, you have moved the decimal place more than 2. Okay, that's basically like raising the fee 2. If you raise the fee by 2 decimal places right now, what would happen to Monero? Nobody would use it. But I'm saying if the price goes up, the fee goes up. And if the transaction fee goes up, it's not digital cash.
The fees are not gonna go up though, because we have dynamic block size. You're gonna have more transactions in each block. The fees effectively will go down per transaction as more people use Monero and as price goes up.
If the price
is the design. That is the design.
The price is pretty good as is. The fee's pretty good as is.
If the price is pumping, people hodl, the transactions go down.
Yeah.
If the price pumps, transactions go down.
So if you look at
Zcash just mega pumped and its transactions went up.
It's still small compared to Monero, though.
I mean, the price is going up and the hash rate is going up, so that's arguably good, right? Basically, 2 of the 3 big metrics are good right now. Is that fair to say?
It depends. If the transaction volume does not go up faster than the price pumps, then fees will go up. If the transaction volume goes up a lot and the price stays the same, then the fees go down. But I'd point out, if the fees go down and transaction volume goes up, it's even worse for our blockchain. It's a lot worse. Miners are further incentivized not to mine.
This is we need Arctic. I mean, Arctic has obviously given us his take on. He's given us his take on this in the past, and but it would be good to hear from him on this topic. ITP, what's going on, man?
The discussion is good, but the discussion is good, but I think I don't think in the future the 0.6 will get increased because it will divide the community too much. I'll be honest. I'll be really honest. And Alaskanon makes a very good point. And I kind of agree also with that. But I think the community will not agree with that. But like Doug said, the thing is, Monero community has chosen 0.6 and now we have to be stuck with it. But the another problem, security-wise, if we increase the fees also, it will be possible. But if we increase the fees too much, it will harm Monero network. So we are stuck both ways. So we just have to, I first thought the tail emission will, at least from other project, it will give us extreme advantage, like other projects, like with fixed supply coins, they have to be relied on utility and hopes and prayers. And it looks like even Monero now have to rely on full chain membership proof, the utility of the coin, the number of user, and hopes and prayers, sadly. Because, I'm seeing good development also with the Travadors publish and perish, as well as the next version, Workshare, inspired from that other project, that new one coming up. I'm actually very excited for those, the Quai network. But it's not the problem. I see another problem is that Monero doesn't have a true competitor. Zcash is not a competitor. Like even all the new projects coming up, they are not even like full privacy coin. So that's a sad thing that Monero till now doesn't even have a true competitor. So I'm excited for all the new projects we could learn and experiment on, but still, some good things are coming up with Carrot, full chain membership proof, as well as the publish and Workshare upgrade. But still, if we increase the price too much, and if we have any kind of checkpoints, or if we have increased the tail emission, it will harm the community. But that's the thing. We have to Well, I thought that Monero could move past that, but even Monero now have to care about this one utility, number of users, at least 1 billion people if possible, and hopes and prayers. Because I think even
why are you saying Monero? What's the hopes and prayers part? And I got to step away. I'll be listening. But why are you saying it also is relying on hopes and prayers?
What I mean is that I thought that technologically we could solve that problem, but I think the ones we have chosen means the tokenomics. And we kept it at fixed supply at 0.6. If we change that, or if we move away from proof of work, it will really damage the community as well as the reputation. Like seeing all these days, also I think there we have to find some solution to tackle all our problem, or somehow find a solution, because another problem I see is we need this one a supply. How do we distribute more Monero to new users, because people don't know how to swap from Litecoin to Monero, or if there in the future the crackdowns will increase on centralized exchange, then the decentralized exchange mechanism needs to be at least better UI compared to the current version. Currently, the whatever decentralized mechanism getting Monero, all those UI sucks. So it's a big issue. We need much better user interface for newer peoples. Otherwise, and I think it's better to have the discussion to at least see what happens, because we should be open-minded, because we are seeing right now interesting civil war is happening in the Bitcoin community with knots and code. So I think we should keep in mind that it doesn't repeats over here. So that's why I'm seeing lot of issues, lot of potential also, but lot of issues Monero community needs to face. And I don't think Zcash is even a competition, because they are going like for hybrid proof of stake. They will go with the Tachyon upgrade, but it's not going to be that much of a competition against Monero.
You know, if we have this problem, that just means, like, if we have this problem, hold on. If we have this problem and we've done this better than Bitcoin has, we already know that. We've already know that we in Monero have done this better than Bitcoin has done it, because they have a fixed supply of 21 million and that will supposedly never change. So if we're having this problem, then Bitcoin is going to be in for a hell of a time.
Yep, that's true. Shortwavesurfer has said, like, right now we are seeing that. And I will say, Alaskanon has very good points and he should keep up. But
I2P,
I'll be very honest. This one, about the hopes and prayers argument is that because its currency is basically, it's not only about technological upgrades, it's also about faith. Because I will be very honest, I don't want Monero to turn into a religion, but we have to be very careful in those arguments. If you want to keep it for fixed supply into 6, we should have a very discussion, because if there is a big divide, it will really damage the Monero community. And I'll be very honest. So we have to fix our other problems. That 18 blocks.
I2P. This will add to the conversation, I think, a lot. So if you have today's price, 5 years from now, it would be $11.61 more per block. In 30 years, it would be $79.19 per block. That's if the price stayed exactly the same forever, but you just had a 1% tail emission forever. If it were to pump to $1,000 per Monero, then it would be $35.78 in additional revenue per block in 5 years, and it would be $244 per block in 30 years. If Monero were to hit $10,000 per XMR, that means in 5 years, it would be $357.81 additional revenue to the block reward per block. And in 30 years, it would be $2,439.99 per block. So in other words, a 1% tail emission raises your block rewards quite significantly 5 years from now at all three of these prices. But if Monero were to pump hard, it would add in 5 years, if it were to pump to 10,000, it would add basically $356 per block to the security budget. You could basically wash away over half of all of your fee structure, still increase your security budget, and have a lower tail emission than gold does at just 1%. And that only works out to be, in a 5-year timeline, that's like 10.4% or something like that increase to the tail emission. And in 30 years, it's like a 13% increase to tail emission, as opposed to what it is now. But the thing is, once again, not only is this totally arbitrary, but we picked a fixed number instead of a floating algorithmic number, which would make infinitely more sense for a cryptocurrency rather than just constantly approaching zero forever, you know, or you could make it dynamic the way that you have the fee structure. But my main point is our security budget is going to continue to crater forever. Like, even with the tail emission, it's going to continue to become trash. There's going to be an ever decreasing incentive to mine Monero unless you raise the fees by pumping the price. And if you raise the fees by pumping the price, you're basically Bitcoin. You're not cash. You're a digital asset trying to capitalize on the greater fool theory. There's nothing liquid about it.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, shortwavesurfer, I think Tuxedo, can you pull up that comment also? It's very interesting, that random tip guy. Yeah, that's also a very interesting comment he have posted. But yeah, there are like 3 points I want to say about that comment also, and about this Bitcoin thing also. The thing is, first, what Alaskanon said makes sense, but we have to understand, can Monero survive? Right now, it's like this one, the price, if it's like suppose it's being suppressed, can Monero survive? Suppose it's at 100 in the future, like 10 years. Can it survive with current, this one, tail emission? If yes, then you can say that, of course, yeah, Monero have secured the security budget argument, because if not, then we have to see the security budget argument. First of all, we have seen that we haven't considered if there is a large state-based attack, like currently we have seen with that 18 block reorg thing. But we have to make sure, if the price is suppressed too much, not in a free market. Currently we say it's free market, but it's not actually free market. We are getting delisted everywhere. So once we are sure that unless the price is suppressed and still Monero's fees and tail emission can sustain itself, then we will, I think, Alaskanon will have an argument, good argument, to increase the tail emission, or Michael will have a good argument if he wants to increase the fees. But I'll say both ways, it will damage the Monero network, because if we increase the fees too much, it will harm P2 as of a medium of exchange functionality, and it will damage the network. But if we increase the tail emission also, like Alaskanon have said, yeah, it will, there is benefit, but the social construct of never tampering with the supply will be damaged. So yeah, there are trade-offs.
One of the things that I would point out also is, if people are saying that transaction volumes would be affected by increasing the supply curve, well, then the inverse should be true. And in the last two halvings of Bitcoin, I don't know about the rest of them, but in the last two halvings of Bitcoin, transaction volumes were relatively unaffected, especially when you consider the change in price. The change in price one time was more drastic than the other, but the transaction volumes didn't change at all. However, Bitcoin did become less liquid. It's because the fee structure continues to be abysmal. People use it less and less for cash, more and more for investment. And yet, even though the block reward was cut in half, it didn't affect the price and it didn't affect the transaction volume, but it did become less liquid. So if it becomes more liquid, but the other two things aren't affected based on Bitcoin doing a halving, wouldn't that mean that you are growing the circular economy with zero effect on everything else? Isn't the whole point to be digital cash? And that's my point, is if an arbitrary number became your religion, and that's precisely why you don't want to change it from then on, okay, why don't we just go to Monero? Because they have the most fixed supply.
I mean, I think you're sort of saying it is broken, but I mean, it's not really broken, but you're saying it will be broken, which, yeah, it very well could be. Once the hash rate starts going down and the price starts going down and all those important metrics start going down, then people might start agreeing with you, Alaskanon. I mean, that's my 2 cents, I suppose.
I think that the research needs to be done immediately, yesterday. I mean, I started talking about doing the research 3 years ago. And I started trying to do the research myself, and the evidence is piling up.
Yeah, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I mean, if you want to, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, or an ounce of prevention. I don't know which one's which.
Have you opened an issue on GitHub and really put this forward to the community as a real proposal?
Just at this stage of bringing it up to the community, just at this one stage, I see so much religion at this point. It's like, why bother? And what I mean by that is everybody seems to be convinced that if you touch this, it's a non-starter. We've touched everything else in crypto. You see what I'm saying? We've touched every other element of crypto that you can think of. And it's the religiosity of this entire situation becomes more and more. And the funny thing is Monero is supposed to be like the anti-maxi crypto. And then all of a sudden it's like, we believe in tail emission, but we only believe in tail emission if it's this exact amount and nothing else, even though we had no data to go off of at all.
I think it's worth putting up a proposal on GitHub just for the documentation, if nothing else, that, hey, this has been discussed.
The documentation that currently exists for having it be discussed was, well, we want to have tail emission for block security. Okay, how about this number? Sounds good to me. And that was it. That's literally the only discussion that's ever been had.
Right. So if you want to, if you really want to get the pulse,
Michael actually already put it up, by the way.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I think you're exactly right. If it's going to happen, like this is an awesome show, and this is a great place to discuss it. But this is like 7 people out of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, maybe millions that use Monero out of the 8 billion humans. A written.
Well, there's like at least another 20 people on YouTube talking about it right now too.
Yeah, so I mean, people watching. I mean, but still, that's dozens of people, and plus more dozens on X, Twitter X, and the other StreamYard, systems that. I think a written discussion where people can come back and reference and hash it out, pun intended. I think that's the way to go.
A lot of these comments, like I'll just read a couple since they're YouTube comments, but a good example. So Simon Claude has been talking a lot about this in the comments. Slave Blocker, are you going to come on, Slave Blocker? Where are you? But anyway, I agree that that transaction fees, if they were to increase, would hamper the velocity of transactions. So far, the security of Monero has only been increasing. Is MeGold 666. Then MeGold continues. The most important thing about fixed supply is the fixed part, which I agree. I'm just saying we should fix it to a number that follows the data. That's all I'm saying. We had no data, now we do. And then Slave Blocker says, I would be okay with changing the tail emission if it would be more secure because of that to attack it. Otherwise, it may be an economical argument, which is not permanent like rules in code. And then Simon responds with, I mine Monero not for the rewards, but because I'm invested in the project. Also, others play the lottery. I like the idea of mining as a way of gambling. And then Me Gold says, Arctic Mine has already discussed this topic. 0.6 was not chosen randomly. I've never seen that, actually. I would really like to see what he had to say on it. If you could
Did they elaborate on that? That wasn't chosen randomly? Like the
rationale? I never saw Arctic Mine speak on the topic other than on this show a couple of weeks ago. So if you could put that in the chat, buddy, that would be amazing.
I seriously like that comment. Yeah, this one, the random person tipped like 3.2 money. This one. Yeah, this idea is, I think if someone can put that idea up, I'll be honest, that's not me. Okay, I am not tipping and using my own comments. So yeah, this one, this guy posted this one. Here's a better idea. Create several new blockchain identical to Monero, except that each chain has its own tail emission rate, and then they are merged mined with Monero. They all coexist and the market will decide. I'll be honest, that's not me. Seriously. Some people are there like
that's literally exactly what Cubic did. Like they merged,
I'll be honest,
and notice how like they absolutely killed it, by the way.
I'm not doing that, but yeah, that guy's comment is interesting. Yeah, because we need experiments. And the funny thing is, till now, I think in the future, I'm not sure, but till now, we don't have a true Monero's competitor. That's also a big issue. Some projects are not full anonymity set is not there. They have like dev tags, pre-mine, all those problematic stuff which will create legal issues. They don't have a culture of Monero. So yeah, like private by default.
I was scrolling through the comments here, and Me Gold said, Alaska, what do you think will happen to botnets when you increase tail emission? Lol. For one, botnets are the bread and butter of Monero's hash rate. I love botnets. I would like to see more. I would like to see people hacking the Pentagon for the purposes of mining Monero. Please, if you're out there, go for it.
Two things about this one. This one research not done on 0.6. Research was done, but I would say not that much data was available.
He's saying that I didn't do my research, which I did. I found what I found, and I'm asking if he can show me the stuff that I'm missing. I would love to do it. But everything that I found is that it was a completely arbitrary number that was intended to emulate gold. That's the only thing I found. If you have something better, I would love to read it. Please show me. If you could link it in the YouTube chat or something, I would love to read it.
Yeah, I'll say research was done, but it was limited. And another thing people are forgetting, Monero is a very novel idea, very new. It was like rare, like even the tail emission, those were very rare on those times, because it was cryptocurrencies were based on fully fixed supply. Then some people started doing like tail emission, not fixed supplied coins. Those were very rare ideas. So yeah, data was there, but it was very limited. So it would be it won't be factually correct if we say like data was not there, but data was very limited. Research was very limited.
All we had was modeling. Arctic Mine did a bunch of work on modeling. And the thing is based on all of that modeling, the idea of having a fixed supply, like, and they had a whole bunch of different like numbers that they had pegged to. But here's the thing. We've already discovered the holes in the security budget. And then the other thing is if the reason you don't want to do it is because you don't want botnets, what's more decentralized hash power than botnets? Nothing.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to comment about botnets. Botnets, it's not a Monero problem. It's a cultural and security problem. Why do botnets happen? Because of weak operating system run by people, as well as it's being run on a weak infrastructure. They're running Windows on an unsecure network, and so we have botnets. And Monero miners or botnet operators are just using that as a method. If the security was robust, if we have a better infrastructure, the botnet problem wouldn't even come. So botnet is not a Monero issue, it's a cultural and security issue. We should always remember that. And second thing, I think it will
people don't appreciate about the fact that, like, yes, the idea of one CPU, one vote is great, and I know of no better situation. But I would point out, as an example, let's say you're the network admin of a major hospital institution. You have access to tens of thousands of threads at any given time. If you run a large data center, you have access to tens of thousands of threads at any given time. It's still not the decentralization situation that people think it is. But what's beautiful about it is at least the pool of people who have access to that kind of computing power and who have the ability to price in the electric to the customer, they at least are competing amongst themselves. But if the fear is, oh, what if there's botnets? Well, then switch to ASICs. Like, if you're afraid of botnets, then what you're looking for is an ASIC, or you're looking for gold, because you have to physically mine gold.
Is the only solution to botnets ASICs? I feel like there's got to be a better solution people haven't thought of.
Well, I'm just saying it would be far better to just switch to ASICs if you don't want botnets. But I'm saying I love botnets. Botnets are amazing.
Yeah,
I think they have unintended consequences you're not considering, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Yeah, we have to. Yeah, I wanted to be honest. I think it will be better. We should argue about the upgrades coming up, like in this one proof of work. We have found out some upgrades. It will be better. And yeah, we should talk about this one. I think the price issue, if we want to help miners get this one, because miners have to mine for profit. If they mine for ideological reasons or religious purposes, it won't cut it. So if we want to help miners not run in a loss, the price should increase. So how do we increase the price? We have to make sure the utility is better. So we need to make sure we have better DEXs, and we have to fix this one selfish mining problem. This one, we have some upgrades coming up. I think it will be better. We should discuss about those. The things Trevor's cooking up and those other projects are cooking up, though, those are interesting to talk about. I think it will be better.
One of the things about like the current solution, like basically creating a gate, even the people creating it acknowledge that this is a temporary solution to a permanent problem. Like but the reality is that the one thing that everybody seems to agree on is to incentivize miners better would decentralize your hash power. To increase the access to Monero would solve the problem. But that's kind of the whole thing, and this is why I'm wondering why Doug has his feet firmly planted on not increasing block size. Because if you were to increase block rewards, if you were to increase the block rewards, it accelerates the value proposition of one CPU, one vote. This idea that you can get your hands on Monero by just firing up some mining. Well, the thing is you're getting Monero at the cost of real world value. Like, it's
also possible that if the
and buy the Monero, then to mine it yourself.
If the tail emissions goes up, it's also possible that botnets would just increase for a variety of reasons, and then you'd be back in the same spot crypto economically. And yeah, it very well could be problematic.
There's a ceiling to botnets, and we're already there. Like you can only get so deep into how many botnets you can fire up and use and all that. Like, and I think that we're literally already there. It would be hard to increase the amount of botnets that are mining Monero right now.
Well, I mean, botnets are consequences of hacking and malware. So it's possible if the tail emission goes up, it'll increase the motivation of hackers and the number of hackers and malware people. So they put more intellectual, effort towards more botnets. And then, I mean, again, that's just a possibility. Again, we can't predict the future here unless you have a crystal ball.
But with an increase in malware and such, I'll give you an example. People were using browsers to mine Monero, and then it became harder and harder to mine Monero on a browser because they were closing the security holes. And it would be the same thing with just about every network. If people are constantly injecting malware, you can do more than just mine Monero. It's a serious security problem all over the place. And so people are going to continue to close those loopholes, and the pressure gets higher and higher and higher on restricting botnets. So there is already a ceiling, and not only that, but you're going to raise the in fact, if anything, you're going to increase the value of like cybersecurity related fields, and those cybersecurity related fields are going to get more and more demanding. So the thing is like, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. We already saw with Monero people closing loopholes on browsers as a direct consequence of Monero botnets.
Yeah, but I mean that is what it is. But with how should I say this? In browsers, if it could be done with full consent, like I think people, last time I was on here, people were saying like, I think they basically locked down browsers. So even if somebody wanted to do it, with their full knowledge and consent, like the browsers basically would stop it. Like, that doesn't seem ideal. It seems like if people want to do that, that could be a way of increasing the hash rate. And,
Yeah, they've already made it harder to mine Monero as part of like a browser-based video game because they closed the loopholes on the botnets. Now you could probably figure it out. Of course you could figure it out and make it voluntary. We had a couple more comments on this topic that I'll try to get in here real quick, though.
And feel free to bring...
Go ahead.
Not to get too much off on a tangent, so feel free to bring it back. But as far as XMRig, and I was looking into integrating XMRig into like Godot games, open source game engine. I think the problem with it, I realized, is, since I was last on here, is that XMRig is GPL licensed. So if you really want to be able to integrate it into games that aren't just totally open source, you'd really need like basically like an MIT licensed alternative to XMRig. And you could do it with full node, but what's the...
Yeah, this GPL and MIT thing already divided the Linux and BSD community. I think it will be really dangerous if we stick with GPL. Like those cultural debates happening over there, it's really harming the cryptocurrency space also.
But I2P, that's part of the social contract. We can't just go and change licensing like that. There was a social contract, and the priests of Monero have already declared that we can't change it even if it's an improvement.
Wait, let me be clear. First, it was BSD clause 3. Then it got like, even with like Sarai as well as all the Rust code base happening. It's like it got changed later. So it's
part of the social contract. You understand?
Corrected. It's not fixed. Like it got changed again. Before it was like permissive. Then it became restrictive. So yeah, that's not a social contract, because a social contract, you cannot change it, but it got changed before. So yeah, I think we should
an anarchist, and I've heard that whole thing like 10,000 times. No, you see these people who signed a document 2,000 or 200 years ago. They made a social contract with people who weren't born yet that we have to pay our taxes. You see, because of the social contract that I never signed. It's such a non-starter argument for me as an anarchist. The idea that we all agreed that we're part of this religion now, and it's like, dude, the social contract, no, either it's better or it's not. And that's the only way we should ever look at this. And I'm just saying, can we please look at this and see if it's better?
So
that's
if
right
Monero,
I think we should restore. I think we should restore from all those GPL licenses and back to its original form, which is BST clause 3 of Monero. We should restore it.
If Monero decides not to change, then what's going to happen is there's going to be a competitor that's going to come up and do a 1% like a 1% floating point supply curve or whatever, and the market's going to switch to that instead. So like the free market is going to make the decision for us, whichever way. If one thing isn't working properly and enough people decide this thing isn't working and it's not going to change and there's no way of changing it, then they're going to create a competitor to it that's going to compete in the free market for it.
And the reality is like, I, as a Monero holder, okay, what gives Monero its value is people willing to buy it, hold it, spend it, do its circular economy thing. The entire proposition of Monero is not that it's something physical. It's not that it has inherent value. It's that it's private digital cash. And if they're actually going to be we're sticking to our guns on the idea of private digital cash. And we're not even willing to entertain the idea that we're wrong about the inflation rate, because you can't have it both ways. People that are talking in the chat about, look, everybody in Monero laughs at the ossification of Bitcoin. Everybody in Monero community laughs at the idea of a fixed supply. That's already the reality. But now it needs to be a fixed tail emission. But that's both ossification and committing to a fixed supply. The question is it better digital cash? And I'm just saying, I'm not seeing anyone trying to do the homework but me and Arctic Mine when he started, okay? I don't see anybody trying to put together real data and make an argument for whether or not this makes sense to do. I just see a whole bunch of people saying we should ossify and we should be religious about it. Okay. And then it's like, oh, we just need to pump the, okay. So now, according to the audience, we have number go up, bros, ossification, and fixed supply are the three arguments for why Monero shouldn't try to see if it can improve. And it reminds me of the whole, the idea of, oh, well, we should at least entertain the idea or do the research on whether or not there's some value to be added in Monero if we were to add elements of what is it, like instead of proof of work, proof of stake. Okay. I still am fully committed to the idea that it's probably going to be proof of work, but I'm not trying to shut people down from seeing if they have a better value proposition, even though I'm like the most diehard Monero guy I know other than the people who come on this show. I use it all the time. And I'm holding it allegedly until the boating accident. But my point is, I want private digital cash. And I seriously think there's something here. And all of the people that are arguing against, well, I shouldn't say all. There are some really good points to the contrary. But I see ossification arguments. I see fixed supply arguments. And I see religious arguments. And this idea of a social contract has constantly failed us for generations. It's like this cudgel that people use to say, like, get in line and don't have your own ideas. Like there's
but you are agreeing to a social contract. You're admitting that the social contract is untraceable digital cash. So you're okay with the concept of a group of people agreeing on an abstract idea.
Yes.
Right. But you're not okay with part of that being that for us to achieve untraceable digital cash, we need a fixed emission curve.
No, that's not true. I am okay with it if the data lines
I mean, you're not against social contracts because you're totally okay with the social contract of untraceable digital cash.
But that's not so much a social contract as it's a philosophy. What? If the philosophy is to create private digital cash, and I'm a willing participant. But then if they're at odds with one another, is it
right?
like
Listen, I agree. I agree with you. At the end of the day, that the true social contract is untraceable digital cash. But personally, I believe that maintaining and sticking to the mission curve that we originally agreed to gets us there. And I think most of the community agrees on that. I'm not seeing. I hear the arguments you're making. I'm not convinced by them. I'm not shutting it down and saying, listen, we can't. Like, I'm not religious about it to the point where we're saying, you know, like Alaskanon cannot come on this show and talk about it. Like, we spent the entire show devoted to it. But me personally, not convinced.
I think
I think most people are not convinced at this point. Maybe something changes. I hope not. I don't think that's what would need to change to fix the problem that you pointed out.
I think the biggest argument, and I think the thing that this comes all the way back to, is the fact that we've been burned so badly with fiat that we want something that we know is going to not change, and Monero solves that problem. And I think that's why there's so much resistance to the idea of changing it, because we've been burned so badly in the past with people making changes to money supply that we just inherently are gun shy about it. We've shot ourselves in the foot, and we're like, no, we're never going to do that again.
Yeah.
So I'd point out that there's a way around it too, which is in the original discussion about what the supply should be. The original contract also has this idea of it should stay around 1%, so we'll fix this number. If you were to change it to be algorithmically 1%. But my main argument is it doesn't factor in money velocity. So the fixed floating point, it should adjust for money velocity. If money velocity is increasing, you should decrease the block reward or something like that. But the point is, if you're showing a decrease in money velocity, then you can tighten the supply. Do it algorithmically, and there should be no arguments.
Yeah, talk about the FCMP testnet thing, because the thing is, we will talk and it won't go nowhere. I think another problem is we should even talk about this permissive licensing as well as GPL licensing problem, because it's already divided the FOSS community, and now people are seeing the problem. Like, leftists have infiltrated the Rust community, they have infiltrated the Nix community, they have infiltrated obviously the Ubuntu Debian community, Arch community, and now they're eating themselves up. Like, they are totally crazy. So yeah, I think we should even talk about those topics also, and we should talk about the FCMP testnet and all those proof of work upgrades which are happening in the research field. I think it will be better rather than talking about tail emission, because it won't go anywhere.
I hate digital licenses just generally.
You think it should all be public domain? Everything should be public domain.
Everything should just be public domain. Let's do it that way.
I don't care as long as it's open source and I can check the source code and modify it.
Oh boy, but you still have to follow the license. That's the issue. And when there is like competitive license, then you have an issue. You don't get progress, you don't get development, you get politics. And it becomes a mess.
I think one of the interesting things that happens when you're talking about licensing in cryptocurrency is, you know, I don't know how many coins there are at this point, like 200 trillion or whatever the ridiculous number is. And that is one of the arguments for, like, so for example, if you've ever listened to Peter Schiff talk about crypto, it's like Why Bitcoin? There's all of these other ones. In fact, that's what his whole point about talking about how if you're interested in privacy, use Monero. Talking about how Monero had a more value proposition than Bitcoin. I don't know if anybody listening saw that, but it was awesome. But the idea of anyone can just spin up their coin. Well, that's one of the things that I absolutely love about crypto is you can have anybody making whatever crypto they want, and then the market can decide. And that's super cool. But then at the same time, you see people like, oh, well, if we all kind of ape into the same few coins, then the price, X, Y, and Z. And then all of a sudden people are like, well, one of the values of crypto is that it's theoretically infinitely divisible. In fact, it came up earlier. Well, if it's infinitely divisible and I can trade you my 1/1,000,000th of a Shiba Inu, or I can trade you 5,000 million Shiba Inu for your 8 Litecoin or whatever. But then eventually you hit this one roadblock, which is as you spread out the number of cryptos, price discovery becomes more difficult. And to the lay person just trying to sell their cheese, and there's 8,000 cryptos that they can, accept for that cheese, well, somebody can create a crypto, pump the price, buy the cheese, and dump it. So all of the sudden people will start to consolidate back into certain cryptos. But in order to consolidate into those cryptos, people are going to get burned. And then the value proposition becomes, well, at least fiat is enforced with violence, and that's how it holds its value so well. Why don't I just keep using fiat? And we're walking into some very unexplored territory on this topic, where how many coins is too many? And if the market's way of finding out how many coins are too many is for people to get burned, and if those people getting burned are now incentivized to go back to violence coin, aka Fed notes, then we're kind of pushing ourselves back into might makes right, which I'm okay with, but I would like to see a more peaceful society. But if violence is the answer, I'm down.
I think everybody kind of has to get burned at least once in order to figure out where things really should be. And what I mean by that is, like, you go through everybody I think goes through the situation where they get hacked and lose their 50 Dogecoin, or they lose their phone on the subway and they lose their 0.001 Bitcoin because they didn't write down their private keys. I think getting burned once at least is a rite of passage. And then after that point, you're a lot more careful about what you're doing. And I think time is the big divider. So Monero's been around for 10 years. Bitcoin has been around for 16 years. And the market has kind of decided on these things that, hey, yeah, you can have Hannah Montana cryptocurrency, but if you want to buy cheese, you can't use Hannah Montana cryptocurrency to buy that cheese. You need to use Monero or Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever, because I don't understand the value of Hannah Montana coin. I don't want to deal with Hannah Montana coin. Like, I understand the proposition of these couple of currencies, and that's the ones I want to use. So either you need to swap, like you either need to have a swap mechanism to get into more liquid, time-proven currencies, or you need to like use your Hannah Montana coin to buy your Hannah Montana merchandise, and that's all.
And I'm not trying to divert back to the thing that I was just talking about, other than to just say, like, this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about the idea of specifically Monero being the best version of private digital cash it can be, is because I would like to see the leaders in this community, which I consider the people on this podcast to be a part of, and the people in the chat to be a part of. I want to see us make it to that stage of being the most ideal form of private digital currency that we can be, to eliminate the largest number of getting burned as we possibly can. And I also understand that fiat, as it is today, it's a never-ending legacy of people getting absolutely burned over and over and over again. So yeah, like let's try to find the right answer and not just what we were just talking about, but all of these things before people are forced into this as a practical implication. Like they need money, they need real cash, and fiat is not doing it for them. I'm hoping that the baseball diamonds can be finished before they start coming.
I think part of it's education. So yes, I took the hit and I got burned because I lost my Bitcoin on the subway because I was stupid enough not to write down my keys. And after that, after that burn experience, I was like, okay, I'm never doing that again. So I make sure to write down my private keys. And when I introduce somebody to crypto, I'm like, put your private key in your password manager or whatever. I mean, it already stores your bank logins and everything else. Why can't it store your seed phrase, right? Because I don't want them to have the same experience that I did.
Yeah, hardware wallets will get better, and I think next we will see rise of wrench attacks. Like I'm worried about wrench attacks because in United States, and I think Argentina will be the two safe, and Finland, maybe Finland, Argentina, and United States will be the safer place. And other than that, everywhere else, the wrench attack will increase like in crazy amounts. Even in safe spaces, it will increase. Yeah, we have to take care about cryptographical solutions also, like decoy dummy wallets in normal wallets, like multiple decoy and dummy wallets. And we have to make sure we have educated, like we are educating people enough to get on those routes, like use swaps, use like multiple wallets, use hardware wallets, like have a gun. Otherwise the wrench attacks will increase in the future in crazy amounts, because things will get much worse, like all those wars happening, all those crises happening, economic crisis happening. So the wrench attack will also increase because people will go for gold, they will get stolen, they will go for crypto, they will get wrench attacks. So yeah, lots of problems in the future.
Well, by using Monero, you at least eliminate the part of that in the fact that nobody knows how much you hold. With Bitcoin, like if you send your, zero, like if you send your 50 cents worth to get a candy bar, and the cashier knows that you have $50,000 sitting in your wallet, well, they can just call up their buddy and be like, "Hey, attack this guy when they leave my store," and they can split that profit. With Monero, that's not possible. Also, you don't have your life savings on a mobile phone. Do not have your life savings on a mobile phone. That's stupid.
And we have to make sure, like even when in the future, if it's in a majority crypto world, means majority population know what crypto and have some of them, their homes will get stolen. There means they will face attacks. So we have to come up with solutions also. We cannot say just tell people, oh, we don't have crypto, we are Luddites, we use only cash and gold. It won't work. We have to find actual solutions also. We need to make people sure they know about armed security, have weapons, as well as cryptographic security, like having proper hardware wallets as well as decoy wallets also, because the wrench attacks will go in huge numbers in the future, because things are getting really worse in all across the world.
Except in Alaska. Things are getting amazing here.
Yeah, Alaska and those Greenland and those places will be fine if things played correctly. If United States get that Greenland or maybe parts of Canada and Argentina, and maybe some kind of regime change, like similar like Argentina, but in Chile, those kind of weather, because icy weather is there, so it will be better. Except those places, and maybe some Eastern European countries which are near Russia, because they will be like fully like crazy, armed to the teeth. So those places will be fine. Other than that, entire world is screwed.
Yeah, listen to that song by Jay-Z, Drug Dealers Anonymous, where he says, "Nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God." But yeah, he talks about the feds and his lawyers. It's sort of a funny song. It's about money. It's like, I think it's basically 12-step program, but for drug dealers who got rich and then go into rapping. Anyway.
If you've ever heard Hard Back by Dizzy Rascal, that's another good one.
Yeah.
Hard Back by Dizzy Rascal.
Should have modeled the foyer with the koi fish.
Yeah, who do you think will win? The Bitcoin core guys or the knots guys? The things are heating up over there. We should talk about that.
I don't care. I don't pay attention to Bitcoin at all.
Yeah, but we could direct the changes because it's all about influence. If we let like intelligence agencies or like malicious party influence in one direction, the privacy community could also infiltrate and influence in other directions. So it's like a competition. If we don't participate, the enemies will participate and they will have the field.
Don't let your normalcy bias confuse you, though, man, because the fiat system is what keeps these three-letter agencies on life support. They don't actually have the longevity that people like to imagine they do. I mean, as soon as the interest-bearing fiat system dies, these like massive networks of intelligence agencies now have to actually produce real value instead of leech off of others, and they're not as permanent.
That's true. One thing is, they're not smart enough to privatize institutions. That's the great benefit to everyone. Once they figure out that they could optimize it better if they privatize all the intelligence agency, oh boy, we have a big problem.
As long as you have nation states, you're going to have intelligence agencies.
Multiple private intelligence agency will compete with each other and they will eat each other up. So it's kind of a good thing also, but it's kind of a bad thing also, because now they will have actual power.
As long as you have nation states, you're going to have letters that you're going to have agencies that have 1, 2, 3, 4, however many letters they want to have in their acronym, whether it's Doge. Well, and they're all going to do stuff with crypto. Anything that feels like crypto's under their purview, they're going to do stuff with crypto, whether it's regulate financial markets or do any other thing with crypto or the internet, regulating the internet. Until you have total mesh networks for all the internet service providers, you're going to get rid of all the regulation, because all the internet's just this one big mesh network that's community run, and people are putting up their own satellites to have their own internet. You know, so yeah, that you're going to have intelligence networks and other various government agencies until you're launching.
The world of the intelligence network is already transformed drastically. Like from the era of the OSS, which was like each nation had their own thing, to the era of like the CIA and then Five Eyes, where a few nations were working together, to the era of privatized intelligence networks that we're already in right now. They're already corporate. They're not nation states at all. In fact, there's several corporate intelligence agencies that actually function in multiple different like national jurisdictions, and they're already larger than any one particular nation state's intelligence agencies, and they feed off of each other. Yeah, so the thing is it's already privatized massively.
Well, no, I mean, I think that'd be good. Yeah, if you can launch satellites and get if we can totally decentralize the internet, you know, which would include, and then I think that's related to Monero and cryptocurrency, because if you totally decentralize the internet, you'd be totally decentralizing cryptocurrency, at least that one layer. So, you know, doesn't seem like a bad idea.
You can take a step towards that by playing with things like Meshtastic and Reticulum.
Oh yeah, no, there's been like various sort of, you know, efforts here and there to do things like that. But you know, as soon as you have like, again, right now, if you wanted to launch satellites into space to have a decentralized internet to run Monero on, you would probably need it. Unless, again, maybe there's some jurisdictions, if you can find some country that's really friendly to that and then get your space program going there, then by all means do that. But if you want to do that in the United States, I mean, you basically do what SpaceX is doing, which I believe they are tied to the U.S. government in a lot of ways with, all their government contracts and this and that, yada, yada. But regardless, let's say we found, like Bitcoin Cash has been very friendly in the South Pacific, some of the islands. So let's say you got the space program to launch, satellites into space to have this decentralized mesh network for the whole Monero. Well, as soon as you have people organized to do that, like some anarchist island, well, you basically have a voluntarist government because, as soon as people start coordinating, sort of like Doug alluded to earlier, when you have all this collaboration, I mean, how is that different than a government or some form of governing body?
Well, it's voluntary is the main difference. Nobody hates governments in the world of voluntarism. They hate forced government.
No, that's fair. But let's say you had this totally voluntarist island where you're launching these satellites into space for this Monero mesh network. Well, it would. I would argue that it wouldn't. You simply could not do that under anarchy. It wouldn't be anarchy. As soon as a group of people is organizing well enough to coordinate launching rockets into space, you're having some sort of, even if it's totally voluntary, it's some sort of voluntary consensual government that's happening.
You have to remember your definitions. The word is ruler. Anarchy is no ruler. It's not no government. It's not no collaboration. It's not no voluntary. It's no ruler. That's all it means.
And do keep in mind that's governance, not government.
Okay, that's a good distinction. Yeah. Governance versus government. I appreciate that linguistic clarification. I'm writing that down.
I absolutely love this show, but I actually have to go because I have obligations that cannot be postponed.
Yeah, I think we should just kill it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we thoroughly covered the topic of a potential adjustment to Monero's supply. I'm sure it will come up again at some point. Thank you, Alaska, for that. Thank you for being the flat earther of Monero and pushing the.
Hey, let's get an MIT license alternative.
I'm literally watching Zcash go up against Monero as this discussion was happening, but it's all good, man. Listen, a lot of great points made by Alaska. I totally get the points he's making. Me personally, I made my point. I think that's a different coin at that point, a different project at that point. Given where we already currently are, unless something happens to the degree where, yes, Monero is no longer functioning as digital cash, and then we have to make some adjustment there. Obviously, I wouldn't, religiously jump off the cliff with Monero and not make an adjustment that would be necessary. I'm just not seeing that. I'm not convinced, but I totally understand your arguments.
Yeah, and I'm only saying that we need to do some homework because I see a body of evidence mounting that the homework needs to be done.
All right. I think there's much bigger fish and more relevant fish to fry right now. We got the cubic thing. We need to bolster our proof of work. I guess you're saying this can tie into being part of that solution. I think it's a kick the can down the road thing for me for sure.
So even though I don't have a whole lot of free time, this is my pledge to the Monero community. I will do some homework and I'll probably give it to Michael and have him publish it, but I will do the homework to demonstrate more effectively why I think it needs to be revisited, and that's it. Okay.
Maybe you present on it at Monerotopia. I don't know. You might there might be some banana peels heading to the stage. I can't promise that.
I'm so busy at Monerotopia anyway, just running around doing stuff. I don't know if I'd have time to do that at Monerotopia.
Yeah, no
You're
worries.
a fucking slave driver, bro. I show up and
although if you do the research and everything, if you do the homework, that would be an incredible topic for a Monerotopia stage talk. That would be an incredible topic.
Oh boy. It definitely could be a question part of a panel too. I mean, we get some, get some of the big brains giving their take on it. I know we spoke about it before in the past. I mean, we had Peter Todd at 2 conferences ago, and that was definitely a topic of conversation when Peter Todd was there.
It kind of ties in, though. I think this year you should do a tokenomics panel. Like, it's very undervisited as far as Monero is concerned. I think a tokenomics panel would be amazing. Just throwing it out there. But I gotta go. My life is like.
All right, brother. Thank you so much, man. Greatly appreciate everybody's contributions to the show and their contributions to the conference, as Alaska was alluding to. Always greatly appreciate Alaska, man. Yeah, sorry for putting you to work, man. but you love it, man. You love it. You come ready to help. All right, guys. We will see you next weekend. We do these shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Enjoy the privacy coin pump. Adios.
God bless you guys. Bye.
What's up?
Thank you for joining us on this week's Monerotopia episode. We stream live shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find and subscribe to our show on YouTube and Odyssey, or listen to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or join us in the Monerotopia Telegram group. See you all next week.